And we are live in the studio again with another episode of the Brown Water Banter podcast. My name is Jared Seymour.
My name is Joey Cates.
That's right. And dude, it's like riding a bike kind of.
We've already screwed up 18 times.
Yeah. We're like, okay, did we get this right? Is this button hit? Are we recording here? What's going on? We're super pumped to be back in the studio live and not digital on the computer. We got a great show for you lined up this evening, man. We got Justin in the studio. We're going to be talking about all kind of cool stuff with his businesses that he's running. Tethered Skiff we're going to talk about.
Yeah, Tethered Skiff's what we're focused on now.
Okay.
Like I said, a spinoff of Tethered Outdoor, so I'm excited to share some of that.
Yep. He's got a ton of experience in that game, man. I got a feeling y'all are going to benefit from listening to some of this stuff. And thanks to everybody for being patient with us. I don't know if you noticed, we kept kicking back the start.
We had a photo shoot.
Yeah, we were doing a photo shoot.
Jared's ugly, so it takes him a long time.
I don't know. That ain't what the photographer said. But anyway, before we jump into the episode, thank y'all for bearing with us on the start time. But we're going to thank the people that keep the lights on for us over here. And right out the gate, like we always do, if you're looking for a great local dentist, boom, right here. Southern Magnolia Smiles. That is Dr. Robbie Williams and his friendly staff over at Southern Magnolia Smiles. Check them out on Facebook and Instagram, man, if you want to get to know them a little bit before you make that phone call and book the appointment. They are at Southern Magnolia Smiles. And once you're ready to keep your teeth clean, or get your teeth clean, I should say, jump over to their website, southernmagnoliasmiles.com. I'm not sure if you can book from there or not. Probably can, I would assume.
I don't know. Probably. Bob's a pretty savvy guy.
Yeah, he's tech savvy. And if not, just give him a call like you normally would at 228-215-1202 and tell Dr. Robbie that you heard about him from the Brown Water Banter podcast. And speaking of the photo shoot,
it was the same exact. What was it?
Yeah, Ariel, right here, the one in the black shirt next to Jesse.
She was so scared to come in here.
Yeah, it is a little bit sketchy if you don't know where you're at. Hilltreemarketing.com, man. This is Jesse and his team. He's the one who keeps our website looking so fresh and so clean. He's worked with a lot of local brands around here. If you are in need of a website to be built from the ground up, his team can do it for you. Just jump over to hilltreemarketing.com and they will take care of you. And again, tell them that you heard about him on the Brown Water Banter podcast. And our good buddy Rocky, man. Rocky, without even us asking, threw a full page ad for us over at Coastal Angler Mississippi magazine for the Sheep's Head Showdown that we got coming up October the 1st. Rocky threw us in there, full page ad with all the info on it about the tournament, anything you'd want to know. So we want to shout him out for Coastal Angler magazine and also for Sea to Swamp. I was over there a few times in the past couple weeks. Rocky's busting out the seams. He's got all of your plastics needs, rods, reels, tackle, apparel.
Huge order of Extra Toughs just came in yesterday.
He shared that on his Facebook page. Yeah, I'm gonna show you the small order here, but he's like stocked to the gills now. So go over there, Gaucher Van Cleve Road, look him up on Facebook, see the #2 Swamp, and check him out. And we're also selling the brown water hats in his store now. So go over there and buy one. So we appreciate that. And Calvin Taylor, he's coming up. We've been putting him off as far as for being a guest on the show only because we wanted to do it in studio. We did not want to do him virtual. Calvin is running for circuit court judge for Jackson, Greene, and George County. We are super proud to be able to have him as a supporter of the show, and we support him as well. I've said it before, I'll say it again. We kind of reached out to some people that we know that's in the law community that deals with court stuff like that, and they've all given us the stamp of approval on Calvin, and so we were happy to have him sponsor the show. So November the 8th, the midterm elections, they are super important for a lot of reasons, but he will be on the ballot, and we want you to know that name, Calvin Taylor, whenever you go to vote, and know that he's the guy that's qualified, 30 years experience. He's an attorney in Pascagoula, where he currently serves as an Ocean Springs municipal judge. And he's the guy that you want to have represent you. He's going to come on the show. We already talked about it, Joey. He's got a bunch of cool stories about representing people here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast.
He's got a bunch of cool fishing stories too. Yes. He's a hoot to talk to.
He's an outdoorsman for sure. So we're very proud to have him as a part of the show. And then we're still going to mention here, right, Joey? This hasn't passed. Yes.
It's this weekend. That's next weekend.
Weekend. Okay. So our good buddy Joel Sigernjack, his mother has unfortunately been diagnosed with ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, if you've heard of it. And they're doing a benefit to raise money for her. And we really, if you can, go out September the 17th at the D'Iberville Community Center from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. They're going to do $10 pulled pork plates. That's fun to say. Silent auction. They got baked goods. Just an all around good time to raise money for a great family who's unfortunately, had some, a tragic event bestowed upon them is the best way to say it. But stay positive, and if you can participate, man, that's it.
We'll have some solid auction items there. We're going to try to be there for sure, Joel and Cherie. You're in our prayers for sure.
So pull that down here. So as I don't know how good we were at telling even the story, but we were in the studio. A lot of people saw our sign out in Lemoyne, but unfortunately that business was bought out by another business, and we thought we were going to be able to stay there. It didn't quite work out that way. And so we went on the interwebs looking for a place. We were, reaching out to every single contact that we had to try to find another place to go to.
And we're poor.
And we're poor. Yeah. Rent is not cheap anywhere around here. And then Joey, the king of the internet, was posting stuff all over the place. And Justin, did you reached out to Joey? You saw the post. How'd that go down? I don't even know.
Honestly, I follow all you guys different sites on different social medias.
And
I saw it pretty quick after Joey had posted it, and I just shot him a note because I had just kind of moved back into this building. I've had this building for a while, and this was just kind of an office. And I'm not working out of here every day.
Yeah,
I just thought it'd be a much better use of it to have you guys move into it. So it's a pretty cool opopportunity, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it turned out awesome.
Yeah.
I know y'all seen the old, well, some of y'all have seen the old studio, but this studio is
well, to them though, it looks the exact same.
Yeah, it looks the same, but I promise you it's not. We got a lot more room in here, a lot more couch, a lot more.
I was gonna say, I got some couch.
You got some couch, some lighting.
See, we don't have another angle to show them, but we did post it on our stories and some of our Instagram stuff. So go check out there if you haven't already. You can see what we're talking about.
Yeah, come hang out with us.
It's a lot more put together.
We got a couple seats if y'all want to watch a podcast.
Yeah, we should do like a live thing.
VIP.
People sit in the thing. Yeah, that'd be cool. But Justin, we appreciate that, man. We appreciate you reaching out to us two knuckleheads and giving us this opportunity. But you got a great story. We had already spoke to you before even the studio situation that came up. You let us use your trailer. What was that for the
regular good guy?
No, where did we go? Why did we need the trailer? I don't see remember where we pulled it to.
Yeah, you guys were going to a festival or something. Yeah, an event somewhere, and needed like some waterproof storage for a period of time.
Was it the one with the animals? No, because that was in our truck too. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. We do so much crazy stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess I met Joey probably a couple of years ago. I don't know. When did you guys start this?
18. But Joey came on like 19, and we started going live in 19.
So somewhere around in 2020 at some point, we were in a place over in D'Iberville, a rental place over there doing some work. And somehow I'd reached out to you. I think I bought some apparel. I love the logo.
Yeah.
You bought a hat. My attention. And and it was cool to, I love, authentic stuff, and local stuff too is even cool. And I just fell in love with kind of the idea and started watching all the shows and things and just kind of hit it off with Joey. And then we've talked a lot about what you guys are doing and why you're doing it and things like that, and align with a lot of my views on things and all that. We've been trying to schedule a time for me to do the show.
Yes, we have for a while.
Then.
Yeah,
about 3 years.
Yeah. We got it in there. We have a few different guests that have that problem. It's like we all work, we all have real jobs. It's hard to get in here and do this, but we appreciate you taking out the time to do that.
Well, what was crazy to me is that in D'Iberville, right down Lemoyne, you had this huge warehouse, and y'all were pouring baits and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, and I had no idea. Nobody even knew what was going on. It was like right underneath our nose, and we didn't even know what was going on.
Yeah, it was some rental place that we were really fortunate to find at the time that was big enough for what all we were doing and that. So, we moved a lot of product through there during the time we were there. So.
Oh, look, your wife saved us. She said it was the boat show. Is that? Yeah, it was the boat show.
Yeah,
thanks, Heather. Yeah, the boat shows. That's where we were going. I tell Justin, I said hi in the comments. I'm assuming Facebook loser is Josh Harmon. You know Josh?
Oh, yeah.
We love Josh.
Facebook loser.
For some reason, his stuff shows up as Facebook user without his name. We love Josh on the show.
He's Josh kind of the same way. I follow a lot of stuff they do.
Josh doing a lot of cool stuff. His YouTube channel is blowing up.
Hit something, was it 2 million views? Like
2 million total views on his channel.
That's wild, man. You think about how many people that is.
Yep.
It's a pile. Yeah.
And just, it ain't been that.
He got most of his views being on this show, though.
He did.
Probably so.
I think it launched his career.
Subscribers.
Yeah, that's definitely not true. But no, so let's dive into it like we always do here on the show, man. Like, let's get your backstory before we do that. Pull that mic one more time, just a little bit over. No, toward this way, because what happens is when you turn toward you go right there. Turn towards me, it kind of goes away. But tell people that are hearing about you, like where do we start your story when it comes to. So Netbait is one. I don't even really understand it yet. Netbait is one thing under American. Explain it to me.
There's another parent company now that owns it, and it was a part where, like most people, I got a college degree. I don't know if that's most people or what it is nowadays, but I got a college degree and went to work. Adulthood, but still immature as an adult, and different things happen. And my wife and I we've been married probably 4 years or so. And it was kind of with no kids, and it was kind of a deal where like, let's just move. Let's move somewhere. Like
okay.
It was just,
so you're born and raised here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Really right behind this building.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. But, so she had a job for the VA hospital system and, great benefits. And so I just pretty much told her, I worked for a CPA firm in Pascagoula at the time. I have an accounting degree. And
oh God. Okay.
So it was a deal. I was like, well, you look for some jobs within the VA system, and whatever you find you like, we'll just give it a shot. So ended up being Birmingham, Alabama, of all places that I would have chosen. That would have been the top 5 picks probably.
Okay.
Bass fishing capital of the world.
Okay.
And I was obsessed at the
so
time.
you got brownie points for just going wherever she needed, but in the back of your mind,
right?
Like,
you want to fish.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fishing.
100%.
Great. Okay. I like that.
We strategically lived on the east side of Birmingham, which is closest to the lakes. And
it's like a double dip when it comes to brownie points. You know
absolutely.
What I mean?
So in doing that, I had a buddy of mine, Shannon Denson, that was in the outdoor industry, and he brokered a lot of deals and did a lot of behind the scenes work. And we had met just through fishing. And we had talked about me coming to work for him. His business was growing, but I had a really good, stable job. I really respected and liked the partners I worked for in Pascagoula. They allowed me to come and go. I'm not a typical accountant, like office work and all that's not necessarily
pushing pencils,
my deal. Yeah. But I had a great environment there that I really liked. And so I was a little hesitant to make the change when we lived here. But since we were moving to Birmingham, I was going to change jobs anyway. So at that point, I worked out with Shannon and went to work for him. And that launched me into the outdoor industry. And we did hunting and fishing and built products. And I met and networked and did all that. And during that three years or so, I met the family in Alabama who started and owned Netbait Tackle, which was a soft plastic brand that they had built there.
Okay.
And I got to know that family. We did a little bit of work for them. We imported some raw materials for that family. And over a couple of years, they had mentioned that they were looking to hire somebody to run the company or sell it or whatever. And at the time, I was still, I was still an employee. Like I needed someone else to be paying me. Like I would work as hard as you needed me to work. Like it was never a work ethic.
You couldn't drive the ship yet.
Yeah. And it was a little bit of that stepping out from, because when you go from receiving money from a company to being responsible for the one.
That's a huge jump. That's a huge gamble.
Yeah. And I've told the story a lot of times where you see these people who are, and you see a lot in athletics where all of a sudden there's an 18, 19-year-old kid playing in the major leagues or in the NBA. That's a different human being. Like they've matured at an age much earlier than a lot of us. Well, the same thing is in business. Is you've gone through enough life experiences, things happen, and you become secure that you can handle it. And then you
kind of learn how the world works too, a little bit, right?
Yeah. And you start sizing up and then you start, well, if I work here from now on, I'm going to get this little bit of a raise and then I'll max out. And it's like, that's not a lot.
I want to get out of that path.
I got to commit 40 hours a week to do this for how long?
Right.
So that was kind of brewing in me already. And then my wife got diagnosed with cancer. And that was kind of at 31, that was the kind of the awakening for me. That was a deal where that was the first time something had happened in my life that I didn't feel like I could handle.
Right.
It was outside
you
of
had
my
no control though.
I couldn't do
Can't
anything.
work yourself out of that.
Yeah.
And that was kind of one of those deals where it's like, then you start saying, well, what else do I think I can control, but I can't? Like, what are these things that I'm not really thinking as deep about as I should? And it was kind of career-based and future-based and wait, it's just her and I now. What about when there's kids? Like,
right.
I want to be responsible. I want to take care of all that. So that kind of changed my mindset. We were fortunate that it was diagnosed really early. So, she had a lot of treatment and things you had to go through, but we were fortunate that it was no worse than it was. And that was kind of kind of a restart or a change. And it's like, now the mindset's different. Now the mindset's, I can do whatever. Yeah. I just got to figure out
she's doing good though. You're right.
Oh, she's doing fantastic.
Okay. Awesome.
So it's kind of now.
I didn't know that part of the story.
Yeah.
This part.
The mindset changes to where it's like, we got through something that's pretty major at a fairly,
young age.
Yeah. So it's like, now it's not about my confidence building, but it's like, you start, well, life's short. It could have gone differently. We need to make more out of life. Well, all of those type of thoughts. Because I was always, like I said, I was always the last person at work when I worked for someone, the first one there in the morning.
Yeah.
If something needed to be done by Monday and wasn't done by Friday, I'd be the one staying late. I'd work the weekend. The work ethic was never an issue, but it's a drastic difference mentally to essentially be responsible for generating revenue and selling and stuff.
Once you
like
jump off that ledge,
that's right.
There's no looking back.
That's right. And then you're responsible. You're the husband. You're the potential father and that kind of stuff. So it just kind of it drove me to explore something on my own. And I enjoyed working for Shannon. It had nothing to do with that. It was just a change in life and almost a change of mindset. It was like a growing up type thing. And I just kind of talked to the family. I didn't really have, I couldn't just go write a check for it. So I had to work out a deal. The accounting background helped. So I was able to acquire the company in January of 2014. I took over Netbait. But essentially at that time, my daughter was born in February of 13 and essentially really in October of 13. But let's just say January of 14. I bought a camper and moved to Greenville, Alabama, which was,
you told us the story where you stayed there.
Yeah, 2 hours from Birmingham. So every Monday morning I would leave and I would always try to be home by Thursday, which some weeks it happened, some weeks it didn't. But technically for the next 3+ years, I lived in Greenville, Alabama in a camper trailer out behind
on a hope and a dream too.
Yeah. And it was because I was set up to where I needed to run the company to generate cash flow to then pay for the company and grow it.
So almost like an owner finance kind of
exactly
situation.
What it was. Okay. Yeah, and they did me a huge favor.
Okay.
Like they
because they didn't get their money all up at front.
Exactly.
All up front.
Right.
Yeah.
And I kind of overpaid for it because of that. But it's
that's the trade.
You either do that or you go
it's
borrow.
The only way you could do it.
You either go borrow money and pay interest on it. So it was kind of a win-win for both of us.
Yep.
And we talked about it for a while because I needed to ensure that they understood my views or aligned with the way they want the company to be ran and how it would be perceived and things like that.
I want to pause right here. So as an accountant, you know, accounting is obviously, in my opinion, I would think, right? I don't like it because I never like that.
Ones and zeros.
Yeah. But like that's the lifeblood of a company, right?
It's the greatest structure I could have in my life for what I'm doing, what I have done, and what I'm doing going forward.
If the books can be balanced and be managed, you should.
But you
should be okay.
That's right. That's a tiny part of the benefit of having that experience, but 100%.
Right.
If there's any errors, and if you're using that information to make decisions,
correct. That's my point. There you go. You
said go forward.
There you go.
And they're wrong, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Right. There you go. Or you're ignoring it. Period. Because right. You're just shooting from the hip, and you don't realize.
And you see so many people who get a third party to handle the accounting for them.
Right.
And you see all these companies go out of business because somebody was, pulling money off and they didn't know it or they wasn't paying the taxes appropriately. And like all these type of
kind of like Brownwater's first year.
No, but you're talking like dollars and cents.
We're a little bitty fish.
There was we could have wiped all our stuff with like $400. Fixed it all.
Yeah, but you take the same concept and exponentially bigger.
Correct.
However many zeros you want to add is how much worse it can be.
But I like the part, I didn't never think about this though. You take something like accounting and was that a conscious move for you?
Absolutely
it
not.
Was no, but I mean, no. To say, hey, I'm an accountant, but I think of an accountant, I think of like you work for some firm or some business that has nothing to do with the interest that you like, but you moved it over into the outdoors, right?
Yeah.
Now, that's pretty badass to me.
It's probably something that gave me that little bit of a nudge to say I can do it.
Right.
To say when I'm putting together the numbers for here's what I can pay for the company, here's what your sales are, here's what I know your margins can be, here's the cash flow I'm going to generate. That goes a long ways in knowing for myself. I ran the numbers.
Dollars and cents is always the scariest part of the whole thing.
Of course.
Well, we had one of our buddies on like early episodes, like in the 20s, I think, maybe even the teens. I don't know. 20, 30, Josh Kovacevic. And one of the things that he does as an attorney, he does like an evaluation of a business before people buy it, right? So you can hire him to go in and look under the hood, so to speak. You already had that ability because you was already working for him, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, and that was, I wasn't working for them, but obviously when you're going to acquire a company, you do an NDA and then you request that information.
Right.
So it's typically tax returns because that's what has been legally certified for their best knowledge. It's not just reports that they print or written
internal,
or whatever. So you kind of get an idea what the sales are. You can discuss margins and all that. And what attracted me the biggest part to Netbait was that they manufactured their product in Greenville and then shipped it out of Greenville as well. So there was no importing. There was all that logistics that I'd been doing for the past 3 years, which is very...
Cut all that out.
You cut it all out.
Oddly enough, Joey and I, in the very early stage. Yeah, we're good. There it goes. As a way to create a product that that we could fund what we're doing with. But it wasn't easy, I didn't think, and it looked like a lot of manufacturing.
Well, when I walked, the first time I met you and you were like, "Hey, come look at the factory," and I walked in the back, I was like,
"Yeah, we're not doing this."
Oh my god!
But it's the same concept. When I walk in here, and I told you a while ago, I was like, when I thought I was going to start a podcast, I'm thinking like 1 or 2 cameras and just stream.
So we got 2 cameras. Yeah,
this is legit. Like this is some wild stuff. So like it's just a misunderstanding of what it takes to do it.
And once you get used to it, you see what it is
at an appropriate level. There's people every day who pour soft baits in their garage with a little melter and little hand shot molds and things like that. So if you're going to generate it into a business, you got to understand how to scale it, what potential is, and what it takes to do that. And that was kind of I was able to having the previous 3 years of experience in the fishing industry, I had met a ton of brands, learned how they did it, what they did it. I'd learned pricing. I knew what our imported pricing was. I knew what
schooled to it.
Yeah, what their dealer pricing was. I knew what they were margins needed to be at retail, at dealer, at costing, all that kind of stuff. So, and then obviously I retained all of that. I've always used numbers. I thought you were asking me a while ago if my accounting degree was strategic, but
no, not when you got it.
Yeah, my accounting degree was the default of not taking any more calculuses when I had attempted to get an engineering degree. That wasn't going to happen.
Funny how stuff works out.
So numbers relate to me, but when we move to symbols and all this kind of stuff in math, I'm out on this, guys.
Are y'all making this up? That's what I always thought. Right. What do you mean it's not a whole number? It's not a negative number. It's not a real number. What is
C?
This?
Where is C?
What is this?
All the above. That's the answer I went with. So, but there's so much of it where is you gotta be able to see what you can do with it, what can be done with it. You got to know. And so I spent so much time with other brands and I network well. I was never using those relationships to think that I was going to do it in the future, but it always interests me to know how things work.
Correct.
Like
inquisitive mind. You have an inquisitive mind.
Yeah. I've always told people I'm very high functioning. So not to in any way be relatable to like high intelligent. High functioning just means you learn stuff by doing it, like repetition. Just do it and learn it. It's you inquire, you ask, you network well, you do it again and all that kind of stuff. But it's just constant. Like my mind is never.
I can relate to that part. I've ever been like I'm super intelligent. I just like if I do it enough times, I'll figure some of it out.
I can learn
and then sometimes you get to the point where you can skip some steps. You can draw some straight lines where you can go from A to D without going around it. Yeah. So there's some of that, and just obviously getting into the outdoor industry was huge.
Right.
That's kind of one of those dreams of getting to do something that's a passion already. So then you're even that more motivated. And I was fortunate that I never fell into that. You hear people say all the time that, you don't do anything that you enjoy as your free time as a job
because it'll turn into a job.
It turns into a job.
There's a balance with that, but I see, I could see that.
Kind of like charter boat.
Well, I told you, Joey.
When people say you want to be a charter boat,
Joey just got his captain's license,
and
to me, like I love music, and I would love to do that full time for sure. But like, I love being on the water out in the Gulf as much as I love music. But I can tell you, to be a full time 100% charter boat captain, I would not even entertain that. To me,
I worked on a charter boat.
I could be wrong, but I don't think I'd like it.
Well, it's a deal where it's on the books and you're going fishing tomorrow.
Correct.
No matter what.
Correct. And I mean full time. I don't mean
weather's
like you're
bad. You got to go.
That's
People don't know how to fish. They're tearing your boat up. They're tearing your equipment up. And you got to be
catch a couple trips here and there as a guide. That would be fun. But I'm talking about livelihood. No way. No way.
Oh, that's right.
And the guys that do that, they grind.
And kudos to those guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, without a doubt. So it was cool. It was exciting, but there is. I was quickly able to differentiate between the fun. Hey, I'm in the fishing industry and the business, because when your back's against the wall and you literally are making decisions that make it or break it, you're able to kind of align and say, this is a business.
Yes.
I'm not going fishing tomorrow. I'm working and fishing tomorrow,
Right.
and the next week, and then just that. Some people say you should never have a fear of failing, but I had a fear of failing, and it was.
Oh, that's natural.
I looked at it as a failing my wife and then my daughter,
your family,
and then also just that. Well, I'd built some relationships in the industry, he failed or didn't make it, so it drove me to work hours that most people would never consider.
Right. But I mean, how many people
I'm away from home and all that?
How many people with startups have that same story, right? You have to hit full throttle and take no defeat. I'm not taking no for an answer.
It's a very unhealthy time period, for anybody who's doing it. There's no balance.
You're missing. Yeah, you're missing family time.
Yep. There's no balance.
School wise is no difference.
Yep.
I mean, I had experienced the same thing. Move away from your kid for a kid, because I only had one at the time. But go on Monday through Friday. That supersedes everything.
Absolutely.
You got a birthday. You got a friend gather. No, I can't go. I can't do that. I got to do this. I mean, I'm sure you were the same way.
I was fortunate. Like I said, my daughter she wasn't even a year old when I kind of moved out. But so she doesn't remember any of it.
Correct.
So,
but you remembered it.
Oh, I remember it like it was yesterday.
So what you're saying is you have a great wife.
I really do. Get to that. Well, I was very fortunate that whenever I sat my wife down and said, "Hey, I'm considering doing this," she said yes without really understanding what we were getting into. So
nice.
She probably off the record. I don't know what her real answer would be.
It's on the record now. Though.
Yeah, on the record, she'd probably do it again. But it's for the future, and it's almost like I was like, it's going to be a struggle for a while. She had a really good job, when we were able to use her benefits and things like that with the VA. So all of that aligns with, this is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
And you see these little things where us moving to Birmingham, me meeting this family, my wife having the job that would allow me to quit what I was doing and
the stars aligning.
Yeah. And there's some other personal things that were going on at that point in time that if I ever get a chance to write it all out, it'll almost be like a movie. That's
well, most people.
Wait, you're talking about you were undecisive and then that happened,
right?
Like that's like a green light.
Correct.
That's like telling you, don't stop, don't give up.
Go and go. You should get Jared to play you though. So
I can try. I can try. No, you know what I like about that though. So far as deep as we into the story, that's what I love about doing this podcast is telling that story, because I know lots of people that are very successful in whatever it is that they do. And then you've always got, whether it's people that know them talking about them specifically, like, oh, well, he's this or he's that. Easy for him or easy for that. You don't understand.
No, that's when
that dude he had nothing. He was sacrificing everything. He wasn't at home at night. He was grinding to get a job or whatever. Yeah. All you see now is the big truck or the whatever the thing is.
Yep.
You didn't see the grind.
9 out of 10 people have that story. Now, some people inherit money, some people win the lottery, some people get lucky, but that ain't the norm.
Right.
That ain't the norm.
And what happens is, by the time you've made your name or you've made whatever level of success that people consider you successful, they have no idea how long you worked to that point.
Correct.
Right.
So like when we moved to Birmingham, I was gone for I don't know how many years. We were in Birmingham and then working all those hours. I didn't see anybody.
Yep.
I didn't relate with anybody. Like I was working. Like I was literally working.
Grinding.
Even if I wasn't in Greenville working, I was at home working any minute, and I still have some of those habits of not being able to sleep. And it's like, I worked so many hours because what I would do is when I moved to Greenville, there was 2 companies there. I bought Netbait, the brand, but then there was a manufacturing company there that was separate. But my intent was to buy the manufacturing in the future. So I would literally work an 8-hour shift with the people who worked for the manufacturing company for free, just for the knowledge. And then when they clocked out and that business shut down, my second shift was working with Netbait. So then I would run Netbait, respond to emails, pack orders, and all this kind of stuff.
Because you needed to know both sides of it.
I needed to know both sides because I wasn't comfortable selling somebody on a product that I wanted to be able to answer any
questions. You'd have been vulnerable.
Right.
You'd have been very vulnerable to your manufacturer had you not. He could have lied to you, skated around.
So
some
you
stuff.
want to know the whole game.
Have to. You
want
have
to know the whole
Well,
game.
because also there's a business model there too. And
Right.
in the future, it's like I want to manufacture my own product.
Correct.
And then I want to manufacture for others. There's a business model there too.
Yep.
That's not only my brand selling, but hey, I can manufacture for you, and then
scalability there.
Absolutely. And then what does that number go to?
Correct.
And then as a accountant, I'm sitting there running a machine, and I'm thinking, all right, this machine just shot 30 times an hour. With
so you're pushing numbers right off
with this many baits, and here's the cost of materials, and then the bag. And I'm running these numbers.
Manufacturing ammunition. I did the same thing. Tried to look up that. What does the machines run? How much does it cost for? But the problem then was you couldn't get primers and all this stuff. I'm like, I'm not even going to entertain going deep into that. So
and it's a deal where there's always more to learn about whatever it is. You're never fully knowledgeable about whatever you're trying to do, and if so, someone else is learning more, and they're not technically passing you up, but I never wanted to be, I don't want to say the least educated in the room,
for sure.
But when I was going somewhere to sell something to Walmart or Bass Pro or Academy or whatever, I never wanted to have a question that could even be dreamed up.
Correct.
That I couldn't have an answer to.
And you got to sit there and be
confident, assured answer to.
Correct.
Well, explain to everybody what Netbait was, if you want to get into that.
It was a soft plastic fishing lure company. Worms and lizards and crawls and swim baits and all that kind of stuff. And the fishing industry is really unique. The story itself of Netbait, way before I got involved, is really cool. Just the old adage of started in your garage and grew it and this and that. So that's a cool story in itself. But it's essentially a soft plastic company, and that's what we were. When I bought the company, they were already established in Bass Pro and Academy and a few places like that. And then I built a really good relationship with Walmart. And just knew that to get scalability, as I learned more about the retailers and who moved what, and all of it, the pricing, and there's so much into it that people get caught up with. When you talk about it, it's a hobby to them. They cannot relate to the business side of it, which I understand.
You talking about like just a regular fisherman?
Yeah, people come to me all the time and be like, "Oh, Netbait, how cool is that?" And it's always the use of the product, which is very understandable.
They have no idea
exactly
how it gets on that shelf.
Yeah, it's no different than you coming in and in the beginning you can't imagine how it's produced, the way it's produced, the way it's injected, the materials.
Oh, dude, when I walked in, I was flabbergasted. I was like, "Holy crap!"
But there's a business model to it, and it's a big. The fishing industry as a whole is like a $46 billion, probably bigger than that now. So it's like you don't need a huge portion of that to be profitable and make some money at it. So it was a deal we ran for a while, and it was a lot of things have changed in the fishing industry, or really the outdoor industry. There's a lot of company acquisition, and a lot of these companies are being consolidated to where there's a very unequal playing field on marketing budgets.
That's every single industry right now, and I don't know if that's the internet fueling that. Which. I don't know. I see that every time I read about anything. It's this company bought that. Sunglasses. We were talking about that.
It's always the bigger fish taking the smaller fish.
One company owns Costa, that owns Ray-Ban, that owns Oakley.
Well, you got competition. You just might as well gobble them up. That's right. Be underneath.
Well, I'll tell you, a lot of times what happens is once these brands get to the top, they've maxed out their potential to add product.
Gobble.
Yeah.
So they gobble it up.
So if you take if you take a Bass Pro shelf and you're in sunglasses, well, they're only going to allocate so much space for sunglasses at Bass Pro. So in order for you to grow, if you've got a lot of space, somebody has to lose space.
Right.
But from a business standpoint, Bass Pro can't get too oversaturated with one brand, no matter what the sales are. Because then if something happens, then they're left without a sunglass supplier. So you take a Costa or somebody and they say, well, since we can't add peg space, we're just going to go buy that group that has 2 rows of pegs. And they're a little group, so we can just buy them out.
Rebrand their margin. Yeah. No, you don't rebrand it, right?
No, you get that space.
You get their margin too out of that space.
Yeah, because then you look at it, and then Bass Pro doesn't necessarily say, "Oh, well, that's the same company. It's 2 different brands." So it doesn't rearrange my shelf space to look at too one-sided.
Yep.
So you see it all. I've seen it with Walmart. As I've learned the Walmart business model, which is very unique. I've seen it happen a lot, where certain brands, and a lot of times. Typically, these acquisitions get announced, but if you're not following the right periodicals or the right postings, you don't know. The average fisherman doesn't know that this company owns this company. So, you know,
what umbrella they follow.
Exactly. I'll see them bashing a brand opposing another brand,
and they're
but
the
it's
same
the same
company.
ownership.
Yeah,
Correct.
You know,
Correct,
and it's
correct.
just it's I see
You
it
mean
happening
like politics?
a lot now.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, never mind. I didn't mean to say that. We got some comments that came in early. Let's shout them out real quick. Part of the show. Rocky was saying that he personally misses Justin being there. That was back when you were talking about with Netbait and stuff. He said people will also never understand the grind. Sam Davis said the only thing he likes to grind is coffee beans. And Patrick Quave just said
Sam is the coolest dude I ever met.
Yeah, and Patrick Quave said long time, but I still make my jigs by hand.
Mr. Pat is a good guy.
Yeah. He said limited, but still making it in my best. So
that's the same way where you can pour lead heads and soft baits and all that 2, 3, 4 at a time, you know, like in your garage and stuff like that.
So when you got with Netbait, you moved over there to where they were at, got the trailer, started doing double shifts with manufacturing side and then the Netbait side. How big was the company? And I don't even necessarily mean dollars and cents. I just mean size, like distribution size or whatever. When you took it over,
I would say that there was some things going on with Netbait. The original owner was actually still a school teacher, so he was running Netbait on the side.
Wow!
Really?
But he was becoming he had moved up to like assistant principal with more responsibility with the goal.
So he had no time.
Principal. Exactly, and he had like 3, 4 kids. So that was kind of
really
what
had no time.
that's what kind of initiated the they got to do something with the brand because I can't sacrifice time with my family or my job because of the retirement and
he didn't want to go all in.
Exactly. So in doing that, it's kind of a deal where it's like it was kind of trending down a little bit just as far as total sales go, and it was nothing about the brand. It was just they were too busy with other stuff. So I knew from being a fisherman myself and then being in the industry the last couple of years that the brand had significant value for the name. It's like anything else. It's
the arbitrage inside of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it hard in the plastic world, I guess. Like Netbait got big in Alabama.
Yeah.
You got Matrix Shad got big in Louisiana.
Yeah.
As soon as you get something that's big, everybody wants it.
Yeah. Once you become part of the conversation of the culture, right?
And back then, social media wasn't as big, and word of mouth was the big viral. Going viral was word of mouth, and it spread so fast.
So he was just saying, "Hey, use these baits. Tell me what you think about it," and then everybody else started losing.
The old-fashioned way. I'm gonna give these guys some baits, let them fish with them, see if they like. They're gonna tell some buddies who tell some buddies, and then and then some of it you can sponsor some touring pro guys in the bass fishing world, some of that type of stuff. But it was a pretty big business. We were already in Bass Pro. We were establishing Bass Pro, like 1 or 2 little small SKUs in Walmart, but most of the other major box stores had it. The thing with the box stores is it's not an all in or all out. Like it's regional. It's small store sets. It's big store sets. It's not are you in Academy or you're not.
Right.
I'm in 50 academies.
Right.
But there's
I think of Shark Tank when I hear you talk about that. They talk about we're in 400 stores.
Yeah,
we got a PO for 1,200 stores or something like that.
So Walmart's got over 4,000 stores, roughly 3,000, 3,500 that have a fishing department and things like that. So it's it's really unique in the way you pursue those opportunities and things. So I knew there was some things missing there and some opportunities there. So I knew my biggest goal at first was kind of stop the trending going down, stabilize it, and then move it forward. And that was kind of the approach. But also I was maxed out on time, so I kind of approached Walmart saying that was my biggest bang for my buck.
Pass the bag of
ice.
That was my biggest return for my time, was to pursue Walmart. Because I knew with interacting with one buyer to control 3,500 stores.
Yeah. It's a big fish.
It makes sense.
No pun intended.
Yep. So there's an approach there that says it's scary to go all in.
Okay.
But you also got to make those decisions at some point and say, here's the approach I'm taking and going at it that way. So I spent a lot of time learning that, networking. I built some really cool relationships. And what I've learned is typically.
Now that's that K-Luke. That's local. That's Jonathan Maizana right there.
Maizana.
Yeah. Our local Ocean Springs bourbon, liquor store, but it's his own personal bourbon, man. So
we got all local stuff.
That's how we roll.
Cool.
Critterdens and Caleb.
Yeah. So
you
like it so far? That's what you had to pull on?
Well, I had the other one, the other local.
Okay, so
it was really good. So
let it breathe.
Networking to me is the absolute greatest trait that you can be good at.
Yeah,
correct.
You can be a great salesman and not be able to sell anything. If you're a great networker, you can eventually network to the right person, the right group. But even if the people you're building a relationship with aren't the ones who help you, they're going to give you credibility in the future. And that was where I started building relationships with people that were of like mind and like motivation and go-getters and that kind of stuff. And not only does it give you more confidence, but it gives you more motivation.
I can't tell you how many people that we've met through this podcast.
Yeah, just rubbing elbows.
Yeah.
That, or like even with the chamber.
It's not about what you know, it's
or
who
somebody
you know.
that doesn't even have anything to do with our, just say like the outdoors or whatever, our brand, but we've met them through this, however that was, and then it paid dividends on the end. Which, if you stop and think about it, isn't that really what life's all about? Sure. I mean, right? Like networks or relationships that you make throughout life. That as long as you're a good person and you're genuine, people, it comes back to you. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Well, you got to know how to talk to people. You can't be shy.
Yeah.
You got to know how to say, "Hey, introduce yourself." Blah blah.
But you have to come at people with
no intent.
Correct. No intent and
no intent to use genuine. What you know.
Correct.
To move myself forward. The old stepping on people's
heads. Because if you do that, people can sniff that out so quick.
It's the same thing, and that's what I mean by building those relationships. They may not be the one who help you on your. They may not know your direct journey in the field you're in. But they can give you business or even life advice on something they went through that was similar. But what I learned is most of the people who have done things are sitting in the back of the room being quiet.
Oh, 100%.
They're not rah-rah in the front. They're not giving the speeches. Most of those, and it's not always. I don't want to group people.
Correct.
Who do,
you're generalizing here, but yeah.
Most of the people who are out telling stories and business motivators and all this, that's their business model.
Correct.
The business model is not business.
That
is their business model.
Yeah.
So I met some people who I built relationships with that were very authentic, that over time started sharing with me things they had done, and I was always, hey man, I can take constructive criticism with the best of them.
Yeah.
I would much rather you tell me straight up what you think I'm doing wrong or how to improve it than let me spend 6 months working on something only to come to the same conclusion you could have told me 6 months ago.
Tell me I'm doing it wrong.
Absolutely. Yeah. And some of that is you take some of the advice, you don't, it's always kind of who are you getting it? What have they done? Do they have any ulterior motives?
Right. Right. No. You have to run a filter through it. Yeah,
absolutely. And I was fortunate to meet some guys who gave me really good advice and actually helped me move things forward. I was struggling to get a relationship with Walmart. And a guy that I had built a relationship with over probably 2 years, who was a direct competitor with me in the industry. A direct competitor.
Yeah.
But I'd seen him at shows. He was always working the show by himself. He was a little bit older guy, not old in any means, but older than me. I would help him break his booth down. I'd help him set his booth up. I'd set him help haul product to and from a trailer.
Because you weren't there.
Not for any reason of this is what I can get from him in the future.
Other than you're a good person.
Yeah, what he helped me with, I had no idea during that time he had access to.
Well, that goes back to what you're saying, like not being a salesman. Like when
intent.
Joey and I have learned this from like the boat shows that we go to. What I say, learn this. It's a community, right? You start seeing the same faces and all that. Yeah. So when we go, we're just the same. Well, I'm the same person. Joey's the same person as we are, no matter whether we're there, whether we're hanging out at the house cooking, or I'm doing this or whatever. We're
not a personality in one environment.
You weren't there going, if I help him break this down, maybe he can help me get it. Because if you would have, I guarantee you, I'm telling you, I've been around those people. You go, this guy's not.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The first time I met you, I walked in there and I was like, I looked at all y'all's inventory and looked at your stuff, and I walked out. I was like, Jared, holy crap.
Yeah, he called me. He's like, this dude's got it going on. I'm like, that's cool, But it's just normal people, and I think when you're like that, I heard the term "salt of the earth." I don't even know what that means really, but to me, that just means when I meet somebody that I'm like, I feel like I've known you for like 10 years or something. That's the kind of relationship you probably had with that guy because you were just helping him. Because
you're relatable. It's authentic. Yeah. It's kind of a. And I've built some new relationships in the past year or so that are very mutually beneficial and business aligned. And I've shared some of that with you guys on some of the printing and stitching and things like that. So, but yeah, and it was kind of weird because I had built a relationship to where I could kind of vent to this guy. And I called him up one day, and I was just really frustrated with Walmart. I'd finally been able to talk to the buyer. And this guy, like I said, controls 3,500 stores.
Right, the buyer of Walmart.
Yeah, buyer of Walmart.
How many of those guys are there?
There's typically one for every category. So there's I don't know how many categories they
for
run
outdoors.
Through.
This was the only.
This was the guy.
Yeah. The guy for Walmart.
He was the head buyer. So below him at the time there was rod buyer, or there was kind of someone who's over rods and over terminal and over things like that. But
right.
This guy made the final decision. Yeah. And I finally got him on the phone. He said, "Yeah, man, I love your product. I use it all the time. It's a fantastic product. But, let's just continue going through the distributor and send the stuff to them for product setup and all that." Well,
explain that little tidbit right there.
So typically smaller companies, there's companies called distributors that specialize in fulfillment for large retailers.
Okay.
So as a brand, you're either direct. So you either sell directly to them. You have a direct Walmart or Bass Pro or whatever vendor account where their POs come directly to you. You box and appropriately label the products based on their requirements, and you ship them in, and obviously you send an invoice and all that. Or there's a middleman,
right?
And typically the middlemen are already established with the logistics of how to get product, how it has to be boxed.
So there's no learning curve there
for them, right? But
all they do is take your product, put it in a box, send it to Walmart.
Yeah, but you give up huge margins.
Correct. He's going to charge you a bunch.
Exactly. Yeah. So I had the little bit of items that were in Walmart at the time for Netbait were run through a distributor.
Okay.
But the problem with distributors, they represent 30 to 40 brands, and then they may represent 5 soft plastic brands. So what's the odds that I'm getting a fair shot at additional space?
So they can put in whatever you want. Yeah.
None. And they don't give you all the feedback you need. Correct. There's nothing better than sitting in front of that buyer and hearing from them.
Right.
How's your product do? What are their thoughts on your product? And being able to give your perspective on how your product can do, where the assortment should go. And what I learned is there's so many ideas that the distributor don't even share with you, because they have little opportunities in space here that they keep quiet for stuff they want, and they actually directly import some products too. And I'm not a fan at all of the process of distributors and the way some of them act. Some of them are fantastic, but some of them are definitely take advantage of the position they're in. But
yeah, they act like humans.
Yeah. So I was on the phone with
unfortunately the negative side of humans. Yeah.
So I finally got the guy to answer the phone, but he kind of shot me down pretty much, and I was so frustrated. And so I actually called this guy up, and he actually lives in Arkansas. And I said, man, I said, I finally got through to him, and I feel like he just brushed me off in a way.
The Walmart guy brushed you off.
Yeah. Big fish.
Yeah. And this guy said, man, I got a meeting with a guy on Monday. Just come and go in with me. And I almost, it was the same.
This is your competitor now.
It was the same pause that we just had. Yeah, it was that pause of.
Yeah. You're like, are you messing with me, dude?
Yeah. Like,
he's like,
me right now?
He's like, no, hell no, I'm not bringing you with me, asshole.
My damn money.
Yeah, what, are you think I'm stupid?
Yeah. So he was like, yeah, I got a scheduled line review with a guy on Monday. Just drive up and you can walk in with me. And he's like, I have a good relationship with the guy. I said, he said, you just have to understand, he is inundated with sales and calls and why this brand is best. And I said, all I want is a face-to-face introduction.
Yep.
I'll leave my business card. I'll ask for a meeting time of my own in the future. And that's all I want. So finally I was like, I don't have nothing to lose. I said, the guy just told me to keep going through the distributor. So if I show up and it kind of ticks him off, what do I have to lose?
Right.
Nothing. So I was like, whatever. So I jumped in the truck. It's 10.5 hours from 10.5 hours from Greenville to.
I want to pause right there because a lot of people would have went,
that's too damn far.
It's a 10.5 hour drive. I don't have any guarantee.
Yeah.
Man, life is too tough. And now I always get the bad breaks.
Is he going to straight up pay for my gas to get there?
Did he say he was going to buy my stuff? No. That's important. That's important for people. You drove 10.5 hours for zero guarantee. You didn't even know if you'd get in the door, right?
All you're going to do is put a business card on his desk.
I took a business card. One business card is all I took. I didn't take product samples. Didn't take anything else.
And that was on purpose.
Yeah, because obviously I'm sitting here thinking this is this guy's meeting time.
Right. How much of an asshole would you look like?
I don't want to jump on in his grave.
Absolutely. Yeah. I said I literally want to face to face, because there's a different you get so much more out of a face-to-face meeting.
There's no doubt, and I don't care how big social media
gets. Any type of Zoom, any type of anything.
That's why we love doing podcasts in person.
Correct. Right. I made that announcement at the beginning of the show. It's legit.
So literally jumped in the truck, drove up, was scared to death, honestly, because of like this could go really bad.
Yeah. Why are you here?
I still feel a little uncomfortable taking up this guy's time, but I'm like, I'm not. He offered. You know what I mean? I'm like, he offered.
Go give me the spot. I'm gonna jump in.
Yeah. So get there, and it's a little as a product owner. Bentonville, Arkansas, is a very sacred.
I've been there.
Area.
I've been there.
It's really cool. It's the headquarters of Walmart.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a little bitty store, tiny store.
Well, the original Walton store.
Oh, they keep it like
still
that.
There. Yeah.
Okay.
And but they have a huge headquarters, and it's Walmart headquarters. It's really cool. I took a selfie of like how cool it was.
You did. Yeah.
It was a big deal, and showed up. Walked in, and it was our time, and he's like, "Let's go." So I'm walking back there, and it's kind of a unique deal because you come in the headquarters and you turn down this hall, and it's just this long hall of little bitty offices off the side, little meeting rooms. It's not some big. Now they have some plans for some insane rebuild of it that's wild, but it's literally straight business.
Right.
There's signs everywhere that say, "Hey, if there's signs of the buyer that say if the vendor in any way references a kickback or whatever, you're to immediately end the meeting and turn them in." And there's signs that say, as a vendor, if the buyer in any way references a kickback on their part, you're immediately required to shut the meeting down. So it's a bit intimidating.
Yeah. And especially when walking into Walmart, the biggest. I mean,
by far. Yeah. So
Jeff Bezos is like
Amazon's like second biggest.
But anyway, it was very cool. The meeting, the buyer comes in, introduces himself, and the guy says, "Hey, this is Justin with Netbait." And there was a second where I was like, "What is he gonna say?"
I remember you. Why are you here?
Yeah, I can't stand this dude.
I just talked to him like Thursday, and this is Monday.
Yeah.
And but when I tell you, it was as comfortable and as easy as I ever could imagine. Like it was really unique, and it was 100% the difference in a phone call,
correct,
and an in-person interaction.
Correct.
And it wasn't that he didn't want to make the time for me on the phone call, but I called him, and we all know you get phone calls at times that are just difficult. Not that you don't want to spend the time, but shoot, man, you're busy. This is going on. Who knows what's on that day? And so I literally said, I'm very, it's very nice to meet you. I said, I feel a little awkward showing up like this, but I literally am only here to, shake your hand, leave you this business card, and just ask if we can schedule a time for me to come back in the future to represent Netbait at the time. And he said, "Oh yeah, man, absolutely. We'll get something on the calendar for next week or something like that." Mm-hmm. So I literally, we hadn't even sat down yet.
Right.
So I literally had no intention of sitting down. I was like, thank you so much for your time. And I mentioned something to the guy I was with.
10 hours back. Yeah.
I said, thanks for this. It's huge. And they, as I go to leave, they both look at me and they're like,
"Why are you getting up?
Where are you going?"
Yeah.
And I was like, home, I guess. Like I
don't
even have a hotel.
Yeah.
I'm here for this.
Yeah.
And like, just sit down. So I literally sat through their meeting, and it was just guys talking. That was business strategy.
Kudos to you though for not being like, "I'm just going to camp here," right? Like you were being respectful. You know what I'm saying?
And that's all it was.
Yeah.
And that was my whole intent. That was the intent of only bringing a business card.
Right.
And I told the buyer, I said, "I don't have any product samples. I'm literally only here for this handshake, introduce, and leave a card."
Yeah.
So it was really cool. It was cool to see how the interaction was. And then we scheduled another meeting for the next week. So 10.5 hours home, 10.5 hours back, the next week. But obviously then it's really cool. And just that alone time, the buyers.
I bet that heart was pumping when you pulled back in.
It really was, because it was like I was almost scared, because you gotta strategize how you can even cash flow a relationship.
Correct.
From product.
We've talked about that.
Getting the yes is not even half.
Yeah.
It's not
now you got to fulfill the product. You got to do all that.
We deal with that on the merch end of stuff.
Very low. But yes.
Well, I mean, everything is a ratio.
Yeah. And they give you they don't give you a year ahead notice. They give you a year's notice on that you're getting in. They don't give you but about 6 or 8 months in store count. So that store count matters.
That's everything. Yeah.
Like
How
50
much?
stores or 500
So you
stores.
got 6 months to get all your product ready
pretty
to
much.
rock.
Did you have like?
Well, that's the benefit of having product made in the USA, though.
And you were
wait,
wait, and you were your own manufacturer.
Absolutely. Well, I was in the facility where it was done, so like it was easy for us to spin it up. So.
I thought you didn't.
At the time, I didn't acquire it. No, all I owned was Netbait.
Okay.
I was continuing to work for the manufacturer, which was a separate company for free for the knowledge, but I didn't own it in any way.
Okay, so that's a good point of the story. So at this time,
I had access to it, which is made in the USA.
Now, you didn't have to do like a 2 hour, 12-hour delay China phone call to a guy you barely know, and he's like, I don't give a shit.
All you did is say, hey, we got this, let's kick it in.
Yeah. So it was cool, and it was a great relationship. We got some PDQ boxes, which was a really cool load in for Netbait. It was huge. We built, I think, about 1,500 six peg PDQ boxes. So it's kind of a feature set where you preload it, you ship it in the store. They just take the top off of it and set it down on what they call the base deck box, where a lot of the kits and things are.
Okay.
So we loaded like 4 18-wheelers right here in this gravel parking lot the first year. Or I guess it was the second year, because I was in Greenville the first year, and the second year was here. So we ended up getting like 1,500 stores for that PDQ box.
That first order was 1,500 stores,
and it just ended up working out with something that I could cash flow.
I was going to say when that
in sales, but
when they said 1,500, what was your reaction? Obviously, it was great, but was 1,500 like, yes? Oh shit! Or was that enough in your wheelhouse of accounting where you knew you're okay?
I had run 1,000 scenarios. I had almost run a scenario for every 5 stores.
I bet.
Like 500 stores, 550 stores. So I had.
What was your magic number?
Yeah, that's a good question.
It was many more than 1,500, and it.
So you could have handled it.
Yeah, because at the time I was going through a distributor. So then eventually we turned it over to going direct. So first time we shipped into a distributor, they typically pay you on 30 days, where Walmart's like a 90-day deal.
Okay.
So I was fortunate, and there's a whole nother bankruptcy deal in the middle where the distributor we were working through filed bankruptcy in the middle and hit me for like $70,000. I got a check for like $300 4 years later.
Oh, that was nice.
So so it was just distributor.
He billed you for $70,000, or he owed
me $70,000,
and then just
they
was like
bankruptcy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow,
and
that's cool for your cash flow.
Shady stuff.
Yeah.
Chicago stuff, but
I like it. The mob.
Yeah.
Nice.
But looking back on it, but all this is building confidence and setting up a business, running it, handling the first PO, actually shipping it in correctly, and getting paid. It's like, holy smokes! Like I think I can do this.
Yeah, we can run this.
Yeah, we can keep it going. So it was a cool experience, and all of that goes back to the networking. And it's kind of funny now because the buyer that day eventually left Walmart and started doing consulting, and we worked together for probably 2 or 3 years after that as a consulting relationship. And I'm good friends with the guy. He's actually been down here. Him and another guy they've been down fishing the last 3 years in the fall. So I actually got to hit him up, thinking it's probably time for him to come back. So it's just that he's a really good dude. I was ticked off that he wasn't in my mind. You're not giving me the time, but then you start learning.
He's got more fish.
I've been in 2 instances in my life that what you're talking about. One was applying for anesthesia school and being the one like, I can't get in. I don't know how this is going to work. And then years later, I was the one sitting on the board interviewing the person trying to get in. And that was like, it was so completely different. And you understand now. I get like what you're saying. I get why they asked this. I get why this is important and why that's not important. But when you're in the other chair, you don't understand it. Sure. And then now, like on the music side, I mentioned that before, being in the band versus being the one booking the shows and buying the talent. Now I get and it's quick how quick you transition from I just want to be I want my business to do good to like, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? It's like, holy shit! Why that's because now my ass is on the line.
That's right.
It's a different story.
You know the questions to ask, and the reason
because now I know why the heat's on that end of the table.
Exactly right. And that was where like some of the stuff I do now is I do some consulting work for some bigger brands, and it's Singing River Merchants is a company I started once I left once I built out the manufacturing and all that, and parted ways there.
Did you end up taking over manufacturing? Did we say that?
Yeah, well, I ended up taking on a business partner, a capital partner, and then we built a really big manufacturing facility
So
and acquired some other brands. I didn't buy that.
Okay.
That's actually still potentially something I'm going to do.
Nice.
I got 365 days from the time I left my previous business there to think it through before I'm capable or are able to do it, which is something I'm definitely going to pursue for sure. But so I started a kind of a consulting company called Singing River Merchants, and it's kind of a focus on Walmart, but I also do work with some Bass Pro customers and things like that, where it's such a unique business model, the way retailers at that scale operate.
Mm-hmm.
And having that accounting background, when I started that relationship with Walmart, it kind of goes back to starting to take that step forward to buy Netbait. You learn fast when it's make it or break it,
or get chewed up.
Yeah, like I can't afford to not learn this.
Right.
So like back in the day, where you're like, "Am I prepared for this test in school?" I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Who cares?
Who gives a shit? If
Dude,
I make a plea,
I know
it's
what you're talking about.
Whenever it's make or break, it's like like 12 hours, man. I could stay awake 24 hours and study for something, and it was because you'd already put in so much time. That's what's on the line. Yeah. So like if you make one bad step a year later, 2 years later, especially if you're trying to scale and you're continuing to put your neck on the line to grow it, you're always at that risk. There is no safe zone. You know what I mean? Like
you're always walking the plank.
Absolutely. And
it's do or die.
And it becomes less stressful. Not because it's less of potential, it becomes less stressful because you're building more confidence and knowing
you've done
it
before.
Yeah,
you know what?
Oh, look, man, I started a relationship with Walmart from scratch.
Right.
I signed up in their retail link system, which it takes a rocket scientist to learn. Well, I learned it because I didn't have anyone else to teach it to me. I didn't have any other
trial and error.
Yeah.
Right.
So once you start building that confidence, it's like, yeah, I can take on anything. You need me to learn what or do what, and then it's also being confident and comfortable in a room with other people to know that what you're saying and what you're talking about, you've earned the right to give your opinion
and
on
big
it.
wigs.
Yeah,
we talked about it on the episode that we had Matt Crittenden on, which that's his whiskey sitting right there. He's a lawyer. I don't know if we talked about it. He's a lawyer. Yeah. He's a lawyer by trade, right? And he made a comment on the show. I wish I splice it in right now, but he said, you know what law school taught me? And like most people would think law. He was like, no, it taught me how to think and how to be an active learner. And I know that better than anybody. That hit home with me. And it's the truth. Then you learn like what you just said. I may not know Walmart or may not know this, and I may not even be the smartest person in the room. I don't care.
Oh, I know I'm not.
You give me enough time. I know now how to say, if that's the North Star, we'll get there. That's where I want to go. And like you said, if it's do or die, usually I'm better at getting there then. Yeah, if it's kind of like, losing 10 pounds, I'm like, I don't know. Who cares?
You've been fasting though.
I don't care.
You've been fasting.
Who cares?
Yeah, there's a simple model for that. You just got to do it.
Let's eat fried snapper and eat potatoes. Yeah. It's just fun.
Steaks, everything else.
There you go.
It's unique, you know what I mean? But it's cool because you never know where you're going to use that in again in the future. And the whole Singing River Merchants thing is where I'm looking for additional clients who are already in Walmart and want to look for expansion and maybe go through a distributor where the distributor is not giving them back the information they need on how well their product's doing, how to advance it, or what other placement opportunities are, or customers who think they have a product that would be suitable for the customer base within Walmart and don't have a clue where to start. Because all of the stories I hear over the years, as people would say, how's it going? I was like, yeah, we're doing good. We got stuff in Walmart. Every single person can tell you horror stories about Walmart putting somebody out of business. I bet. And it's like, that's everybody's first thought on it. And it's been nothing. It couldn't be more the opposite from my experience of Walmart. And all I can say is a lot of these companies allowed Walmart to put them out of business by not telling them, hey, I can't afford that. I can't afford 2,000 stores. Can we start with 500?
Right.
Walmart, you got to realize Walmart puts a lot of time and effort. And this is for any, I'm using Walmart as a reference, but any major retailer.
Right.
They put a lot of effort into bringing in new customers and new products. the last thing they're attempting to do is put you out of business, because then next year they got to start that process over.
What about, maybe you know this, maybe you don't, what about them driving the price and the margin down to nothing because they have that leverage? That's not I hear that all the time.
Well, let me say there may be people with those firsthand experiences, so I don't want to
right in your experience. We're talking about you,
couldn't in the world I'm in. I've never seen it.
Okay,
because like you're responsible for your product selling.
Right.
The success is not getting the yes from Walmart or from Bass Pro, from Academy.
It's still got to sell in Walmart.
Years ago, the business model was once you're in, and the store associates help sell your product.
No,
that's gone by the wayside.
Correct.
Nowadays, you're responsible for building the product, marketing the product, and in marketing, it means selling the product. It means telling customers that they can now purchase your product at Walmart, Bass Pro Academy, and telling them to go there and buy it.
That's the same thing Joey and I we had this conversation a couple weeks ago. I mean, we mentioned at the beginning of the show. I know maybe didn't, but anyway, we did with Rocky.
Yeah.
We're in 3 stores right now, and I told him, I said, dude, I'm super pumped that we're in those stores, but at the same time,
we got to perform.
Yeah, I'm like,
we're on the playing field.
Yeah,
now.
I'm I don't want them to not sell. Now, if they don't sell and we get pulled out of those 3 stores, is that going to tank what we're doing? No, but I'm going to feel like an ass, and I'm going to feel like shit that it
goes
work.
back to you've built that relationship with Rocky
and Nelson's Outdoors and
Furlands.
Yeah, I don't want those guys to be like, you're not.
These guys suck.
Yeah, exactly. And so we're gonna break our backs. Through marketing, through mentioning now other stuff,
because obviously you make more money if someone comes to your website and buys a hat.
100%.
That's not a scalable business model per se. Whenever you want to have local coverage,
we want to be part of the community,
and you need to support Furlands and Nelson's and
Rocky Cedar Swamp.
We're gonna take a hit on that to put it out there so everybody can get
it. But there's relationships. Would you say Rocky threw you a
full page ad?
Mississippi Coastal Angler Magazine.
Yeah, there it is.
That's the relationship. And that is way more 10x than any margin you
100%.
lost. Any of the hats he's going to sell that you would have sold through your website, that ad is 10x the value over time.
Correct.
It may not be today.
Yes.
If you would have sold the hats that you just put in the store versus what you would have just paid for the ad,
and we've talked.
It's not about today.
We talked about this on the show many a times. I mean, this is something I hope I'm doing for a very long time. This is not a cash out business. This is not. I
told you I got some ideas we're going to work on.
We're about to go to the moon.
We talked about this, Joey. Now, I mean, just this crazy path that it's been. This show and this podcast is like. It's really ridiculous. And then to meet you and like you're telling, I hope people are listening, man. I hope if you're listening to this on the live or the replay or on the audio, that's some valuable tidbits. If you do anything when it comes to retail or marketing or whatever, but to be in here now with you in your studio, I know y'all can't see it, but this is a different place. It's a different place. We're in a different situation, but this relationship to me is awesome. And I hope we can help you, whatever you want to do, because you talked about doing your own podcast, right? Your own stuff.
And I've already secured the YouTube page for kind of one that I'm working on.
Yes.
And it was cool because that's, we talked about it a while ago, like not knowing what you're attempting to get into without knowing that this is a professionally done, whatever scale you want to look at. Whatever scale you want to look at.
We can play you. I can play you the first stuff that we did, where the audio got out of sync with the video. It wasn't live, and I'm like learning on YouTube. And I mean, this has been a growth,
a lot of research.
Yeah.
Well, that was the whole thing. So like I've reached out to some other guys. There's a guy named Luke Duncan that does some really cool stuff in the fishing industry. He's got I think it's called Low Budget Live, but it's a pretty cool podcast that's more directly in professional fishing, bass fishing and stuff.
Yes. Like Speckled Truth is for speckled trout in the outdoors.
So I've reached out to Luke. It's like, hey man, what kind of camera and stuff do I need? And he shot me all this stuff back, and I'm searching.
It's
I'm
mind-boggling.
Like, yes. Like he's got like a switchboard like you got over there, and I was like, all right, man, I need to pump the brakes on that.
The dummy version of it.
So it's kind of like we talked about a while ago. So I saw you posting for some, my first thought is, holy smokes, I need to work out a deal with those guys to get them in here, and then
I love that, dude. I love that.
That's a
strategic move in my mind, though, and I'm good with that.
Yeah, and that's not me calling you guys and saying, hey, let's do
not
this
at all.
Because it'll help me. It's like, hey, they have a need.
Right. I have a need. Yes.
Correct.
Yes. And that's not manipulative. That's beneficial. Mutually beneficial. I love that.
So I'm excited about what we got. Some cool stuff going on.
So we took it to Netbait. you took over the company, you get into Walmart, that was a great story. And then, so now we're moving from Netbait to Tethered Skiff. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And, so tell the Tethered Skiff story, and then what your hat, like, I love the way you took it from one thing to do the big umbrella. Yeah. I want to hear that.
Yeah. So I eventually moved Netbait down to Mississippi. My wife was interested in having another kid that, at the time I was gone so much, like she was a single parent, like 100%. I was literally, when I say I was gone Monday through Thursday, there was more times where I was gone Monday to the following Thursday, like a week and a half, than I was just a standard Monday through Thursday in Birmingham, Alabama, where we had no family.
So you would walk in the door and she would say, "Here you go."
Well, yeah, but she was a trooper, man. Like she knocked that stuff out. But
gentlemen, take note of that. If your woman will do that for you, will be down with you. She's a damn keeper, man.
But the additional stress emotionally on me to think my wife and daughter are in a town in Birmingham that she's commuting to work every day. What about a simple flat tire? What about a simple car breakdown?
Yeah.
And
how are you gonna get to them?
God knows where, selling or whatever. It was overwhelmed. Like it was the nights that I spent were really difficult at times, you know, but here I am by myself with, she has a young child and all that. So it's like, she's getting through it and
she's
doing
stepping
good.
It up.
Yeah. And but it's still emotionally draining on top of can I make this company work? And so she brought up the fact I want to have another kid. And I was like, look, I can't handle that. I can't handle that. You guys being here in Birmingham, me being gone and all that. So we kind of worked out a deal to come back to Mississippi here where I grew up and where we grew up. And so that's when I built this building, and we essentially moved just the distribution part of Netbait to here. So it was just order fulfillment and stuff like that. So I'd kind of learned all I needed from the manufacturing side.
You shipped the manufactured products already here.
Yeah, case packed and kind of ready to go to Walmart or any other retailer. So really, because that was really all I was responsible for. That was the only part I owned, and what my main focus should have been was just growing the sales for Netbait. But I knew there was some structure in me learning the manufacturing piece. So we essentially moved it back here. I eventually took on a business partner, and we set up our own manufacturing here down into Sunplex. And that was part of the stuff that we had to start in the rental facility over in D'Iberville, and eventually moved into the Sunplex down here, down there. Yeah. So significant.
I remember when I went there to get that trailer, like we mentioned in the show, and I was like thinking, like, what the hell did I just? What am I doing? What I didn't know who I was meeting. I didn't know where. I'm like, what the hell has Joey got me into, man? You had a receptionist that took my name down, and I sat in a chair, and I'm like, what the hell is going on here, dude?
It was a lot of overkill. But essentially,
not if you have the business, right?
The business model I had built over several years of here's what the real cost of manufacturing is. Here's what the potential is. Here are the customers that I know I would go after right away because I know who they are. I know what their products are and all this kind of stuff. So obviously it required a lot of funding, and I'd met a guy that was committed to doing that. And so we essentially built all that. And it was just, they have a different future and different idea around what success is and the future they want to go with that. So that's what I recently parted ways with that. But I had acquired Tethered Skiff, which was a local coastal apparel company.
Yes.
Probably 2.5 years ago. When I owned Netbait, right when I moved it back here, I went looking for a print shop that could print me just a few custom performance shirts, long sleeve, dry fit stuff. And there was a guy down there on Government Street in Ocean Springs, real custom T-shirts. Terrence Pelche, I think is how he says his last name. So I walked in so he had a little storefront in the front right there, and then did all the screen print in the back. So when I walked in the door, there was some Tethered Skiff stuff hanging. And man, it was like an immediate, it just really caught my attention.
A draw.
It immediately
resonated with
you. He had some cool prints, the tagline of the Tethered Skiff, and then the tagline of keep your ties to the coast. It just resonated with me as coastal and fishing and outdoors and all this kind of stuff. And as I built a relationship with Terrence, I would always ask him, dude, what are you doing with Tethered Skiff? And he had at a print shop where he was so busy printing for all these other apparel companies, he really didn't have a whole lot of time to focus on Tethered Skiff. So Peter Anderson would come around. He'd print a bunch of shirts to sell there because that was an easy sell. Holidays would come around. He'd print a bunch of them just because he could sell them fast for holidays. But he really wasn't doing much with it other than that because he was around the clock.
Yeah, he's wide open.
Other demands.
He's busy with other shit. Yeah.
And so I tried to work out a deal where I would do all the sales if he could just print them, and we just never got it all worked out. And finally, I was like, dude, like, if you're not going to do anything with this, let me buy the brand. Like, I just, there's something about it that really I relate to.
Yeah.
And it kind of speaks to me in a way that I feel like I can express that in a bigger market area type thing. And it just took forever and ever. And he was busy, and that was kind of when the investment happened and we started building the other company there. And so essentially I went from 3 employees to, at one point we built up to like 60 during COVID.
Ooh.
During the craziest time in the world I've ever been involved with. So I had no time for it. Like I pretty much just forgot about it.
Right.
And he just reached out one day and said, hey, I'm looking to move this if you're still interested in it. And I said, absolutely. So I ended up just acquiring the brand, and because he had a website domain and then he had a couple of trademarks, and
it was big. It was pretty big. I mean, he had a decent following.
He could sell as much as he wanted at the end of the day.
Which
like
is crazy.
It was just, he just didn't have time for it.
He really put nothing into Tethered Skiff.
And that was where there was one years ago that I saw, I think it was called like Fiscal Therapy. Did you ever see that brand? It was a pretty cool apparel brand. And it was one too that I saw years ago. And I was like, that could take off if somebody knew what they were doing. And I don't ever know what happened to it, but Tethered Skiff just kind of resonated with me, and I just fell in love with it right away. And I was excited to be able to secure the assets. And essentially what I did is I just bought the company, and then I threw a website up, and then ordered some apparel, just some standard prints, just because I didn't want it to completely go away, but I didn't have time for it. Well, now I have time for it. So we are essentially a go for that. We're hoping to kind of launch everything again going into the holidays this year. But as I've sat and thought more about it, and some of this was those relationships I was telling you about, when you meet people, it's good to get a perspective outside of what your own is at times from people you trust.
Right.
And there was a guy that I've met that does a ton of print and stitching, and he's an e-commerce wizard and all this kind of stuff. And he was like, what do you think about Tethered Outdoors?
Yes.
And I was like, oh, whatever. Like Tethered Skiff. Like this is what resonates with me. This is what I want. And then he didn't push me on it. He didn't, but every once in a while he'd send me like a mock-up or something that said Tethered Outdoors, or he has some etching equipment where he can etch on tumblers and things. He sent me a picture one time of this cool tumbler that had Tethered Outdoors on it. And just over a few months, I was like, what can I do with
Juice
that?
started flowing.
Yeah, it's like, all right, what that allows us to do is not just be tied into coastal. Now we can do hunting products or freshwater products with Tethered Outdoors. So essentially what it eventually I'm like, hey, this is a no-brainer. But that was where I was so stuck in one thing. This other guy who had even a bigger vision than I did for it, he didn't take it on his own. He brought it back to me. It's like, dude, this is something that you should consider, because here's what we can do. So what we're doing is we're essentially building up Tethered Outdoors.
Yeah.
Tethered Skiff will always be a part of it as a series of product that can be
merchandise,
coastal, blue water, like all this saltwater type stuff, and beach going and that type of stuff. But Tethered Outdoors allows us to go in hunting, freshwater fishing, hiking, any type of outdoor recreation, and essentially the same concept of Tethered Skiff, keep your ties to the coast.
Right.
Tethered Outdoors is just about keep your ties to your passions, keep your ties to whatever the recreation is.
It's weird because
that's your getaway. That is your release from the stress of parenting, work, life in general. And it's like there's so many of us that are passionate. And for me, that's like, we've got some stuff we're working on to tell the story and why it resonates. But there's just being in the boat. There's something to me about being in the boat that is, in my mind, a disconnect from the stabilized world. You're in a boat where you're at the mercy
once you get off the
waves,
mainland,
and all this kind of stuff.
You're looking back and saying, "Hey, nobody else is out here but us."
In my world, that's the freest you can be.
Yeah,
that is the most disconnected you can be. Is to run 40, 50 miles south of here
and don't see anything but rig lights,
no cell phone service. I was on an overnight tuna trip. I told you guys.
Yeah,
about.
we saw the photos too, by the way.
Yeah,
I still want some tuna
a couple weeks ago. I showed you the reminder that's in red. That means I hadn't done it yet. But that it just re-energizes the fact that I want to share. There's not many people that'll take those trips. Those trips are exhausting, and really most people aren't
it's
prepared.
all night.
It's physical,
right? Yeah. So it was really like we were gone. We left the dock at 8 o'clock on a Friday morning, and literally got back at 7 o'clock Saturday afternoon. But to me, it was an experience of a lifetime.
Yes.
It was one of the coolest. We ended up with, I'll tell you, 15 yellowfin tuna. I saw blue marlin shredding some blue.
And a lot of people never been that far. When you get that far, it's a whole new world.
You're in the wild. You're not. You're on their turf.
5,000 foot of water.
Yeah, you're the smallest fish in the sea.
And if people don't know, blue water is not blue. It's a purple look. When it's so clear that it's blue, it's really purple.
If you can see the foot, you're there.
That's right.
Yeah.
But it's just, and that's where I have to dive into social media, which I'm not a social media fan. Like personally, it was before my time.
It's part of it though now.
With it, but doing different than this, being comfortable sharing your story, not making it about you. But unfortunately, that's the way you got to go about it, to tell the story of Brownwater Banner, tell the story about Tethered Outdoors, Tethered Skiff. You got to be willing, and I think that's what I've learned is that the way you compete with bigger brands and bigger companies is to be authentic. People want to relate to authenticity, because way more people are relatable to YouTube and me than they are. And I love Joe Rogan, and not to call it out, but they're more relatable to us than they are Joe Rogan. Yes. They're more relatable to Tethered Outdoors and Tethered Skiff than they are some huge apparel brand in the world.
Columbia,
I want. Want to touch on that, and you don't have to necessarily go through Walmart anymore if you don't want to. If you're savvy enough, if you're funny enough, or strategic enough, or you have the information that you know about Walmart, you can create a TikTok channel tomorrow and start giving out little tidbits of advice, and you will escalate, right?
Yeah.
And then you already know, because you're already doing it. I already heard you. You can start consulting off of that. That's what the internet does. Yeah. But what it also does, though, is that it gives everybody a platform and everybody an opportunity. So how do you cut through the noise? And the way you cut through the noise is tell your story.
Yep, that's right.
Make your brand. Yep. You're right.
Relatable.
It can't
it's all
just
about
be
being relatable.
It can't just be Netbait anymore. It has to be everything you just told us about Netbait and why that's important. Yep. And then if it's legitimate and people don't smell bullshit, and it's good and the product's good, because if the product sucks, it'll never work. But then that's when people buy in, and that's the game now.
Yep. It's about being relatable. Like that's where I've tried to express this with some other folks. It's quality. Let's just say if you're going to rate the different pieces of it, quality needs to be average. Yeah. If you have average product,
I think you told me this before.
Yeah, and it's a little different. If you're selling someone a product that they buy and use, you need probably above average product. Like to really scale. Right. But if you're selling somebody a hat, shirt,
right?
We all have a closet full of shirts or whatever. So it's not so much about the quality of the product. Now you can sell niches for this, stain resistant, breathable, like all type of outerwear, performance, boots, like
SPF.
You look at Yeti as a cooler company, right?
Exactly. You can get all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's about branding. Mm-hmm. It's about telling the story of the brand, whether there's historical, whether it's new, whatever it is. How do people latch onto it and want to hear more about what you're saying or more about what you're doing? And once you get that going, they're coming back for more.
Right.
They're coming back for, I bought a hat. I love that it was cool. I don't need another hat, but you got another hat available. I'm supporting you, supporting the brand.
Correct.
Oh, well, of course I'm going to wear it to a so-and-so event.
Well, and that was the weird part for me.
Wait for someone to ask me about it.
A lot of people come to me and say, are you local?
You know how many Brownwater hats I've noticed now that I have them?
And then it's like, oh, well,
I got something in common with you.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Automatically.
Well, and then it's a story. Then you start talking about it. Yeah.
So you like to fish. You're
Right.
local.
Right.
And that's the first question most people ask us. Where are y'all from? And we tell them St. Martin, Ocean Springs, Biloxi, Bankley, wherever we're from.
Depending how far away from you.
That's
from
where
us
I'm
are you?
from.
Yeah, we're from the coast. We're all we're right there.
I teach at so-and-so school. Oh, my kid goes to that.
Yeah,
school.
and they were
or
like,
my granddaughter, grandson.
We love you because you're local.
That's
and
right.
That's the main.
That's right.
Main focus.
The only thing that's difficult is to scale. You got to get outside of that.
Correct.
But you're telling a message that's relatable that doesn't require we have something similar locally.
Well,
we have something similar in mindset, in views of this, and authenticity and stuff like that. So there's a lot more to it.
You already touched on it though too. It's like, we started out, we're local, brown water, based on Gulf of Mexico, right here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. But the overtones, the bigger picture, the macro for us is the outdoors, right? Hunting, fishing, whatever you're into, you can do that. How many places in the United States? Everywhere. Exactly. So that's our shtick, and that's what we want to do. Another thing I wanted to touch on that you mentioned too, that you talk about telling your story and social media the way it is nowadays. If you remember back before the internet, or back before, especially social media specifically, I'm going to use a music reference. If you liked a band, you had to they put out a single, it went on the radio, and you had to go buy their record at the record store. And that's about all you got. Then there was like a music magazine, and I remember vividly reading an interview from a band that I was into. I read every word because that's all I got from that band. I couldn't email them.
There were no interwebs.
There was no Instagram.
No Google.
They weren't showing you the day to day.
No, nothing. And what they said was like gospel. Like you're reading oh my God, they're on a tour, blah, blah, blah. And they said this and they're doing that, blah, blah. Nowadays, it's the reverse. You're so inundated with information and stuff. It's kind of a little bit of a bad thing, but when you got your hardcore fans that are a part of you, I can speak directly to you now.
Correct.
You can join my text community or my
whatever I'm shooting out,
my email blast or whatever, and you know everything I'm doing. And if you're even want to go deeper, like Facebook, you can join our group. You could talk directly to us,
what's
or
the Cameo stuff where you can do shout out. You can
that's
pay
a little
for whatever. But I'm just talking about the connection.
Correct.
You literally can get a connection. That's direct.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That was me. Yeah. I hit the wrong camera. But yeah, I mean, that's how close you can be. And people that are into Tethered Skiff, Tethered Outdoors, if they buy in and that's their thing, that's their jam, they're going to go all in on your stuff. And you can do it.
It's cool, but I mean, the thing is, you got to keep it going.
Correct.
You got to keep it fresh. You got to keep the stories coming. But that's work. It's not a hobby. It's not for fun. There's a business model to it, but it's also this is truly who we are. In who you guys are. The stories you want to share. The have people on. So it's not. There's a lot of times a business model is a front because I've got a degree in this, so therefore I got to be an expert in that. So I'm selling you a service. I really don't want to be here and all that. And there's
buy my stuff.
This is who I am every day. So I literally get up at 4 a.m. to go fishing all the time. I just share with you occasionally when I do it.
Correct.
But I'm going to go tomorrow, and I'm going to go next week, and that's who I am, and that's the way I've been. And there's it's cool. It's kind of, I know I mentioned Luke a while ago, but Luke and I had a conversation a couple months ago about the authentic lifestyle that is Southern, and that is I am perfectly fine with being labeled. I am a redneck, that type of moniker.
Yes.
And when I hear some of that, I just hear family, and
Correct.
I hear being prideful in your
patriotic, which is a dirty word apparently.
Absolutely. So it's like it's not.
No, seriously. What are you talking about? Go watch the news.
I'm just saying patriotic.
Go watch the news. Apparently that's not good.
That's
anymore.
right. Yeah.
I mean, come on now.
It's truly a lifestyle, and you can spin it into a business model too. That people want to resonate with, because you have to search for it. It's no longer put on the news. It's not no longer put out there openly.
Right.
Yeah.
You got to find it and attach to it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And say this is my type of person. This is my type of lifestyle. This is what I want to do going forward, because it's family oriented. It's and I've always said, so Tethered Skiff being a coastal apparel company, of course I did a lot of research on coastal apparel companies. and some of them, what we were talking about OnlyFans family.
Yeah.
Some of these pages should be that.
Yeah,
like they're very they're very inappropriate.
Yeah,
for
I know a couple of what
families.
you're talking about.
Yeah,
Correct.
and I've said,
I'm not saying I don't follow them, but I'm saying I know what you're talking
I
about.
follow them, but just for business purposes.
Yeah.
Yeah, just for research, not because I'm really.
So-
into
I
it.
ain't looking at the girl. I promise.
So one of my commitments to myself a while ago is when you start looking at these posts, they get 10x the likes and follows than a standard
Because
picture
of the model.
because of the model. And I said, there will never be one of those pictures. I have a 9-year-old. There will never be one of those pictures that I would feel uncomfortable having a 9-year-old daughter see.
Right. You
Like,
would never
no matter
make one.
what.
Yeah.
No matter how many sales it generates.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, because
It's not worth it.
I've been viewing and watching a lot of stuff on mainly Instagram, but different YouTubes to try to look for influencers that I may want to reach out to in the future as an association with Tethered Skiff or Tethered Outdoors. And it's like I would never. I really don't follow those because that's not a
what you want your
model
brand to be.
And the problem is that's 95% of the market.
It sells at the end of the day. It sells,
Correct.
but it's like
But
there's still some moral compass that you have to have.
Long term versus short term.
There's no amount of sales that would I would pursue that in reach of those sales.
Correct.
And it's just it's a family oriented, because when I think of redneck and when I think of country and all that Southern,
yes,
I just think more family than that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I want it to be based
and
around.
and there is a place for that too.
Yeah.
But like you're saying, if that's what you pick your brand to be, then that's not what it is.
It's a business model.
It's a business
It's
model.
whatever your
That's right.
business model is, whatever customer base you're after. Yeah. It's that's the direction you go in.
I love what you said about the tethered skiff, then transitioning into tethered outdoors, because that was the same thing that I went through whenever we were talking about LLC in this company. I remember telling you, Brownwater Banter is what we started out with. That's okay. It's just the batteries going out. We must not have them plugged in. The lights just went out.
We lost all the lights.
Light. But you know, I sat there at the computer screen before I registered this, and I was like, do I want to call it Brownwater Banter, or do I want to call it, you know, I thought of 1,000 things, and I settled with Brownwater just because I feel like that's our thing. That's what we are. And then banter could be the podcast.
That's right.
Right. You know, and then there's 1,000 other things you can tack on after Brownwater to be what we are. And I did have that kind of revelation or epiphany what you did with Tethered Outdoors. It's the same thing, because you want to be more macro than just
bigger.
Correct.
You want to set yourself up for directions that you don't know yet.
Yes.
And it's like
leave the opportunity space there.
Yeah, this is the most strategic with what I know now. This is the most strategic play with it, because actually there's a corporate company that's not named either one of those that's actually established that allows me to do other stuff.
Right.
But Tethered Outdoors will be what represents.
Yeah, and I could have called our company anything.
Absolutely.
I'm not talking about the name so much. I'm really talking about the macro philosophy. Sure. But yeah, I relate to that for sure.
And there's some cool stuff. I told you guys, I love the logo and all that with the pelican and all that right out of the gate. And it'll be relatable to a lot more than
just Mississippi.
Stuff.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I mean, pelicans are all over.
I'm excited to get some stuff going with
that.
So
what's the next step for Tethered Outdoors, Tethered Skiff?
We've got a lot of prototype stuff we've done. Obviously, this hat, like I said, Jeff has been just Jeff has really the buddy of mine in North Carolina that has the print equipment and stitching equipment. He's really just been a voice of reason for a lot of the stuff I'm doing, but then really not a legal business partner, but a partner in that he's done a ton of prototyping and samples for me to see stuff, which typically you got to pay for and all that. So we've been able to generate a little bit of content with some sample product and all that. So we're building a website now that would be Tethered Outdoors, that then would have a subset of Tethered Skiff there. So we obviously have a Tethered Skiff website that we have a little bit of apparel, but we're kind of rearranging how we go forward with that. We've got some cool hat designs and things that are based around the coastal themes and some of that stuff. Some of the original prints that Terrence had come up with are just awesome. They're really cool. And so we've got all that stuff going, and then we're working on some Tethered Outdoors things. So it'll be exciting to see where we can go with the Tethered Outdoors.
Awesome.
So I'm hoping by kind of going into the holidays this year, I'm expecting to have it launched prior to that, and then we'll do some podcast stuff, do some video work, content to kind of tell the story. So some of it's going to be just in much more detail telling my story, which is it's very uncomfortable for me to talk about me.
You did a great job.
I don't know, but it's still very when I say uncomfortable, it's not uncomfortable sitting here. It's just I don't like talking about it. It was the same way with most of the people who have done stuff or in the background.
And I think a little bit of the difference may too be it's a lot different when you got two guys sitting here asking
absolutely.
you questions and talking versus if you're
Yep.
just by yourself in here and you put a camera in your face and you're like, I've
I've
tried that and I don't like it.
I've had a guy who's huge in the media world and fishing and all that. And he's like,
talking about us?
he said you need to do some TED talk, like some TED talk.
Oh
type
yes,
deal.
100%. Yes.
And it's like I've tried it a little bit. I look like a fool and I sound like a fool, and I'm just like, but then Jeff's telling me no content's bad content. I'm like,
no, that's not true.
I sound like a third grader. Like,
no, it's just like anything else. You just learn where you're like, in other words, where do I start? Where do I go? Here's what it's just clicks on a story. That's it.
And there's some of it too where like I'm working through LinkedIn on some stuff like we talked about where there is extreme value in the knowledge I've built over the years of the workings of Walmart or Bass Pro or whatever. That's a complete different business model than Tethered Outdoors.
Right.
And then there's some cool stuff going on. Jeff as well. He's a software guy too. It built a platform. It's called LunkerText. It's a cool platform where fishing products can get sold through a text message scheme, but text message process where you can sign up and it's kind of deal based. It's really cool. But he's opened my eyes to a whole nother level of, I call it e-commerce. People may call it something else.
With the Gary Vee stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, the whole wine,
dude,
something another.
He made so much.
Oh,
money.
it's insane.
So much money off of that,
it's insane. But it's just like as I've met people, they open my eyes to how little I understand about sales and sell opportunities. And I was talking to him this afternoon, man. He can spin up a website, and next thing you know, he's doing $2, $3, $4 a day.
Yes.
Well, that's the same thing we did when we met you.
Yes.
I mean, we were trying to sell our shirts, and all of a sudden you're in Walmart selling all these. Like, that's what we're doing.
It's like it's all of it. All of it. You got to understand.
Growing.
It's
This
is a
networking.
path. This is a path.
Correct.
This is the path. Which path do you want?
Correct.
And then you can do all three. Which one you want to start with, and then what's the difference in this one and this one, and how do you fit in?
Correct.
Because different product assortment, different pricing, different quality, different all kind of stuff.
Yep.
But understanding that allows you to keep from kind of stumping your toe or kind of getting burnt out and thinking, oh, this was easy. It's like, no, it's not going to be easy. None of it's easy.
Nothing.
One of it requires time and effort, and like you guys, like the people who do stuff on the side, outside of their jobs, are so undervalued in the economy.
Right.
Like the business that's generated that people, we do it on the side and it's this.
It's a hobby. Yeah.
I think Apple was started in a garage.
Oh, if you started,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like we could do a whole other podcast, which needs to be done on just interaction of those type of scenarios.
Yeah.
And I'm whether you like Elon Musk or not,
I love him.
the dude's out there.
Yeah.
But if you read some of his stories that he tells, not some
tabloid,
hit piece. If you find the stuff that he talks about of literally renting an office, living in the office, taking turns with his brother coding for years, people don't get it.
The grind. We talked about that in the beginning. Yeah,
they don't get it.
That's what everybody looks over.
Yeah, and it's like, the commitment people have to that versus the standard, I've worked 40 hours, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Plus
fine.
the rest.
That's fine. That's fine. But we're different.
Even after he got his, he was PayPal, right?
Yes.
Even after his PayPal windfall, when he made a ton of money, he started
he
Tesla.
immediately invested every bit of it, and he had nothing.
And then I remember watching a documentary. He got down to Tesla having...
He was 2 weeks.
2 weeks away from filing bankruptcy, and then took all of his PayPal money and you talking about personal wealth. Like, in other words, I'm going to put this up, and if this fails, now I'm broke. I'm done.
So the last 20 years of my life.
Talk about sit back on a yacht and like drink margaritas and never work again.
Yeah, he pushed it all on
He
red.
put all exactly, and it didn't just hit like red hit. No, he pushed the money up, and then
it was
no, like he said, slept on the floor, worked 24. Why would you do that when you're already set for life? You have nothing left to worry about, right? I wouldn't do that.
No, I mean, I'd be drinking margaritas.
No, I would do some stuff.
There's a different status level of like, I'm good. I'm good with, but that's where. So and the one thing I want to make clear is like, my mindset of taking that risk was that what I told myself is I was willing to do all of the work to give my children, my kids, one step above where I started. And I was willing to do all the work just to give them one leg up from where I started. My parents worked their butt off to give me
the same for you.
to give me one leg up.
Right.
And I had this epiphany one time, and I was like, how crappy would I be if all I did was pass the same thing on to my kids? Why would I not be willing to do whatever the work was? And there's different rungs on the ladder of the size of the steps, I guess.
Right.
So like, my parents were fortunate. They worked really hard. They gave me a step up. Well, I can exponentially maybe the next one is 2 steps up. I was willing to finally say I was going to be the one that changed my
heritage, family's course of
whatever
direction.
You want to say. I don't ever want to devalue someone who doesn't do that.
No.
So it's very careful with how you phrase it. But I was willing to do the work.
You took the risk.
Yeah, I was willing to do the work to say no matter what. So like when I bought Netbait, what I told myself is whatever the worst case failure is, the next day I'll go get a job.
Correct.
Yeah, I can live with it.
If Netbait fails and I got to give it back to this family and I failed, whatever day that is, the next day I'm going to go get a job and I'll support my family no matter what. And that was kind of the assurity that said that there is no loss for it.
Right.
I may look like a fool, but if so, I'll tuck tail. But I'll go support my family.
I'll go do it again.
I'll go get a job.
I still got to pay for
do whatever.
Pay for these diapers and food.
So like
and everything else.
once you realize that like it's like no matter what, we're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Like I'm okay looking like a fool to risk a future for my family that's better than what I was handed. I was handed something better than what my parents had. It's my responsibility
to better your children,
to better my kids.
You weren't just content with
that. And it's not about giving your kids a company or business or whatever. It's about an opportunity.
Yeah.
Here's an opportunity, which you got to work for it.
But you make them work for the same thing.
I'm going to start you out with a rung or two ahead of where I started. But my expectations is for you to do the same.
It's even worse than mine because now you got to take this company over and run it.
Well, you look at you go back in time and you look at the family that scraped together every penny they had just to get somebody into school, whether that was elementary school before it was a public thing or college or whatever,
100%,
or even like to get them dance lessons and then they became like a famous whatever.
What you see a lot of times is immigrants. You see immigrants,
they're the best,
whose parents have sacrificed everything.
Like they threw them over the fence,
live on a dirt floor, like every dime they had for a plane ticket, or a bus ticket, to come into this country,
which is so crazy.
Start from zero, but at least it's in America. Yeah,
which is so crazy dealing what we're dealing with now with like the southern border and that whole situation politically. I know we're going on a tangent here, but like honestly, like this country was built on immigration and immigrants. In the legal sense,
it was in the legal sense,
work, correct.
Regardless of your status,
that was the American dream, correct? Like you come over here and you break your back. There was no class system. There was no real barriers.
When you came through, they didn't give you a grant or a parcel of land or like, here you go, we're going to give you this secure.
Well, but they also didn't say you're now in this tier, like say for instance in like India, and you can never get out of this tier. You will always be sub whatever, and you have to stay here, right? Yep. That was the dream, and people came over here and they broke their backs and they worked and then they established themselves over time.
At the end of the day, hard work overcomes all of it.
You can't do anything
to
it.
It should, and I hope that's the way this country stays.
Yeah.
That I really do, and I hope everybody works towards that.
Well,
keeping it that way.
There's a lot of scenarios,
not handouts, not cronyism, not socialism. If you want to go down that rabbit hole, like actual work hard and because it not only makes yourself and your family better, it makes the country better, right?
Well,
everything you produce. Netbait, every or Walmart, just go back to even Walmart when it started. That was a family-owned business, and I mean,
how many people they employ now?
You can say a lot
besides
of bad
cashiers.
You can say a lot. You're right. Well, I was gonna say you can say a lot of bad things about Walmart, and that's a whole nother debate. But
they hire a lot of people.
You produce stuff, and you make the economy better, and you make
and like what I'll add to that is this country is all of the stuff that you're saying you hope it doesn't happen, and it happens.
Yeah,
it's like the playing field is not level.
No, it's not.
The playing field is drastically skewed, and it's getting worse all the time. But personally, you just have at the end of the day, you have to get over that.
Correct.
You
Correct.
can't, because if you're sitting there
if you're
saying,
looking for an excuse, you'll
I got
find
no
it.
sulking.
I got to work 3 times harder than that. It doesn't matter.
So
Then
what?
do it.
So what?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. So since you got to work 3 times harder, you're not going to work at all.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And that people always say work hard. What is it? Work
smarter,
not harder. And my mindset, and I've told a few people, it's like, well, if you're not smart, you better double down to work harder.
You better work hard.
So it's
double
like,
harder.
Yeah, it's
okay.
Either one requires work. So if you're not willing to do that,
I get what you're saying, but here, let me spin that around on what you did. Right? You already said you weren't the smartest person in the room, but instead of saying that you weren't, like, you figured out how to do owner financing. You figured out how to move to Alabama. Well, how do you define smart?
Yeah,
right?
well,
everybody defines it different.
He did it.
To me, somebody that's willing to get in the trenches and eat shit for 3 years. That's pretty smart to me.
Yeah, I mean,
now, you didn't know everything when you started, right? But that's still smart that you did it.
It's back against the wall. You can learn anything.
Yeah.
Because if you're the fear of failure, that's why I say when people say you should not approach something with a fear of failure because it's not a good mindset, I'm like,
no,
you lost your mind.
Yeah, that's wrong. That's
like
wrong.
It depends on what you consider the fear part. I just don't want to fail. I don't want to fail for whatever reasons I have internally. I don't want to fail.
Right.
Insignificant. The facts are I don't want to fail.
Right.
So in the analogy of this is back to Elon Musk. There's a story of him out there where he lays it out perfectly. If I'm working 80 hours a week and you're working 40 hours a week, I'm learning in 6 months what you're learning in a year.
Yes.
And there is no better way to do it than additional time. Some people think, oh well, you're losing retainability because you're exhausted after a period of time.
There's truth. Well, there's some truth to that
because there's actually 7 days in a week. Everybody else thinks there's a 5-day work week.
Yeah.
There are 7 days in a week because there was a period of time in Iberville. So we got a commitment from Walmart to manufacture some Ozark Trail product during COVID.
Ooh, I didn't know you did that. That's their brand, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Walmart's brand.
So I can't remember how many days. It was like 69 or 79 or 89 days in a row that I worked.
Right.
And it was my wife she said something. It was the last thing on my mind about how many days in a week I had, or how many days in a row I had worked.
Right.
But the problem we had is during COVID, rightfully so. So I don't want to downplay COVID. I really don't want to talk about it. I don't want to downplay it. That there was so many opportunities for people to say, oh, I was exposed to COVID, therefore I can't come to work.
Correct.
Oh, man, yeah.
So I literally had a 7-day work week, and it was whoever showed up that morning was working that day.
Yes.
I didn't know what day of the week it was.
Yeah.
I didn't. It was. We were behind a deadline time for Walmart during COVID. There was a timeline that says like maybe October we had everything loaded in. So I'm thinking we're going to get an extension on that. We didn't get an extension.
No.
They moved the date up.
Yeah.
Because they obviously could stay open and nobody was working, so everybody was fishing. So it was like, all right, I don't even know what day of the week it is, but anybody who wants to work tomorrow, I'm gonna be here.
Yeah.
So, one day there's 10 people, one day there's 20, one day the's 3, one day I was there every day for like 69, 70. I don't even know how many days in a row it was. But it was a commitment to meet that deadline. And it was kind of like a challenge.
Yep.
It was like, wait, you made it even harder on me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, here's how we're going to do the
We're
best we can.
stepping up.
And you can never call out me for not
showing up.
And if you're an employee at that time and you really want to, like, you believe in your company or you as a person, or even if you just want to learn the skills like you did when you moved to Alabama and rented a trailer, that's when you say, hey, guess what? I'm going to be the guy that shows up every day.
That's right.
Because now I have this ticket that says, Joey might be smarter than me, but Joey has other things going on, or he's not as dedicated to the company, or he's got a better opportunity somewhere else. But I'm going to beat him by being the guy that was there 7 days a week.
Yep. I'm all in.
And again, not to like,
I'm smarter than Jared.
Yeah, not to promote like grinding yourself and ruining your life and not having a family life, but like if you have an end game or an end goal, it's worth it. That's worth it.
And it goes back to I have nothing against someone who says I want to work 40 hours.
Correct.
I'm not comparing myself to them. I have nothing.
As long as they don't complain.
Yeah,
that's the difference.
You want.
No.
Like
don't work 40 hours a week or 20 or not work and go, oh, he's got blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then,
Well,
shut your mouth.
That's
Shut your mouth.
Don't be like, well, you got this, you got that. Yeah, I've earned every single
correct,
thing.
correct.
So
or
Yeah.
even if you work 20 hours a week now, but like what you've built and the experience you have and the knowledge you have, your 20 hours now might be the equivalent of somebody else's 80.
Well, at that point,
it's not the same.
Exactly. That's a value and experience.
Correct.
For sure. And there's a lot of that goes on too.
Correct.
Where it's like, oh, well, you want to keep your salary, but you want to work 20 hours a week. It was like, yeah, but I get more done in those 20 hours than you could hire 2 people to do in 40 hours.
That's right.
And it's just, remember those days when I told you I worked 80 hours a week and I was learning stuff twice as fast as someone else?
Yes.
I'm just taking a lunch break.
Yeah, that's right. But it's cool though. I mean, we can, I look forward to doing some more where we can talk about kind of the business models and because you want people to, there's some people that their personal situations don't allow them to pursue bigger things. Correct. And it's sometimes it's their own doing, sometimes it's not.
Sometimes it's an excuse.
And I'll tell you, I learned a lot when we got up to 60 people. I don't know how many people we went through to get to 60 that were employees, but it really gave me some perspective on people who are in positions, even if it is their own doing, that are tough. You know what I mean? That are difficult for them to be here on time every day. Like what I mean, like they're a single parent. So,
there's ways to make up for that, though, in my opinion. Right. Unless you have a rigid work, some work you just got it. You got to be here at 8. Right. You have to be. There's no exception. You have to be.
And that we did a lot of. We worked with some people who were, as long as you were attempting, and we felt like it was authentic and you were trying to do,
and that's easy to sniff out. That's super easy to sniff out.
I did a lot of like when you own a business and as you grow, if you're a single owner, you can do a lot of stuff in your business that is
you make all the rules
one off and whatever. But once you start getting a certain level, you gotta build an HR manual and you gotta stick to it.
Yes.
So there was a lot of times where I would help individuals, employees personally, and it was like, hey, I want to advance this person some payroll, and they'd be like, oh well, we can't do that anymore. And I'm like, what do you mean we can't do it anymore?
Yeah, why not?
It's like, wait, this is she's been here, she's worked hard, she's come through a rough patch or whatever. We can it's we got to submit it and
favoritism and all.
I'm like, all right, and I wrote some personal checks that I assumed I consider them losses, and some of them paid them back, but it was you start to learn more about people and you want to help them. And there's a piece of that's like, I'm doing all this work to not only advance my family,
right, but
I want to give people a career that is better or more than they would have had out in the free world of changing jobs every 6 months or a year or whatever. And we hired some really good people, and there's some
that's how you retain people too.
Turnover was good.
You can get taken advantage of too.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
That's how you take it. That's how you retain people.
But a piece of that I learned was that you got to know going into it that's the risk.
Correct.
And you're not doing it for a risk because you're not doing it for yourself.
Right.
Once you're saying, I'm willing to risk this money.
Right.
And write it off.
Right.
And I'll sleep perfectly fine tonight. And once you're willing to do that, but it's also about, you're personally in a position where if I lose this money,
that's correct.
I'll
be okay.
My kids eat.
That's correct.
My power bill stays on. All that,
and that takes preparation,
really
forethought, and
a
planning.
long time ago.
Yes.
So when I was in Birmingham, we lived in a garbage rental house that was super cheap.
Yeah,
and I was embarrassed but it was. As an accountant, we've always been very financially conservative.
Correct.
We've always saved. We've never lived anywhere near maxing out our means.
You saw what was coming.
Exactly. And that's what allowed me to even pursue Netbait originally.
Right.
And all that. So there's some of that where it's like you don't max out your monthly, how much can I afford in monthly notes.
On a house.
Yeah. On anything.
Yeah.
On
car,
anything.
boat.
Because then you can't survive the little one-offs that you can't control.
Correct.
And a lot of it's pitched to everyone now. Every sales ad you see is how much it costs a month. It's not what's the cost of the car, the boat, the anything like that.
I have a good story on that
too. It's very skewed in that people who it's almost like feeding someone bad information in a
on
way,
purpose, yeah.
in the way they don't.
I was just briefly, I was looking for a truck back when I was buying mine, and the guy showed me the sticker price, and I'm like, that's obviously, this is the middle of COVID.
Yeah.
Everything was way exaggerated or whatever. And he gave me a price and a monthly note on it. I'm like, yeah. I was like, yeah, I told you that's not what I wanted. And he was like, let me go work with the manager, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. And he comes back, and I'm thinking maybe he's going to lower the total cost of the vehicle. And he showed
years.
Yeah, he showed me the
same.
monthly, and it was way lower. And I was like, I'm 39 years old now. This was like a year ago. I'm 38. And I look at it and I said, all you did was kick it out by like twice the years and increase the rate. And I'm like,
same thing.
And he was like, well, and I'm like, dude, come on, I'm not 18 years old, man. Like, come on, you should have never even tried that.
Please tell me you got up and walked out.
100. I know. And I shook his. I was like, dude, I get
the same thing happened. So we were in New Orleans looking for my wife a car. It's same exact thing. So I told the guy,
it felt really insulting that he thought
100%.
he could get that by me.
So like they pushed the papers over there, like sign the bottom, and it's almost like they're covering the top. It's like, dude, I'm gonna count it, bro. Like I can do some.
Let me see the numbers.
I know I know. There's 12 months in a year, and you just added to the total months.
That's garbage. Their game, I guess.
Sales pitch for sure.
Justin, dude, I appreciate you coming in here tonight. I think we covered a ton of stuff, and I knew this one was going to go.
Where's Tethered Skiff at? Where can we find it? Yeah,
there's no time limits on this shit. This is we just roll, baby. We roll.
We'll pick up with a part B with some other stuff.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
Tetheredskiff.com. There's a website out there. I can't promise you all the inventory is updated with the right quantities.
Right.
It's I'm hoping by the holidays, before the holidays, in time for the holidays, we get Tethered Outdoors spun up with some product and things like that. So, you guys know how that takes. It's you want to do it right. You're a little conservative with the launch and all that because you want it to be perfect. But we've been working on some content, built some things out. So I'm excited about what we have going there. Like the potential for Tethered Outdoors is really big.
Is that going to be at Tethered Skiff, or is it going to be at its own website?
So there's currently tetheredskiff.com, which is the Tethered Skiff, the original Tethered Skiff. So we're working on the tetheredoutdoors.com. That'll be live hopefully in the future, and then kind of Tethered Skiff will become kind of a tab off of Tethered Outdoors, so that it'll be coastal, and it'll be part of the theme in the beginning there for sure. But yeah, like there's some really cool relationships that I'm looking forward to sharing.
It's gonna be big, bro.
It's kind of a deal where I just want to keep it authentic and for what it is. And there's a piece of it where you can blow up the sales.
Yep.
But then if you do that, you can't control who's associated with it.
Correct.
I'm very adamant about association, who it is, who's able to promote it and push it, and who we get to be a part of it. And there's some really cool relationships that we're working on that I think people will associate with that appreciate.
I know this ain't going to be your last time on the show, considering the fact that you're this is your building, man. You're like literally right over there.
I'm going to demand 5 minutes every week.
Yes. Hey, dude, I'm good with that. I'm good with that. Anything we can do to help you with the podcast, we've already talked about that. We're super pumped to be back in a live studio. Joey and I have
our good one to kick off.
Absolutely. Joey and I have a ton of guests that we've had on the back catalog that we're trying to get, that we've got already scheduled to be in here live, and we're happy to be in a live studio. Thank you for reaching out to us and letting us be a part of this, be a part of your ecosphere. And I think there's going to be a lot of cool stuff that comes from this, man.
It'll be a lot of fun, man. We're gonna have a lot of good time with it.
There's the camera, Joe. You can literally look right at it. Yeah.
Tethered Skiff.
There you
go. Go buy one.
Thanks everybody for watching on the live, on the video replay. We got the Sheep's Head Showdown that's coming out
October 1st. Registration's up right now. We got about 13 people in a dive and about 5 in the Sheep's Head.
Yep. So go ahead and get your tickets at brownwaterbanter.com. It's right there first as soon as you hit the landing page. We're going to be at the Blonde Tiger. It's going to be a party. Like we're pumped to get everything rolling again, man. We got a couple things that are brewing right now that we will let you know about as they come to fruition, that we're stoked about. And if y'all keep watching, we'll keep doing them.